April 1660. April 1st, Lord's Day. Mr. Ibbot preached very well. After dinner, my Lord did give me a private list of all the ships that were to be set out this summer, wherein I do discern that he hath made it his care to put by as much of the Anabaptists as he can. By reason of my Lord and my being busy to send away the packet by Mr. Cook of the Naseby, it was 4 o'clock before we could begin sermon again. This day Captain Guy, come on board from Dunkirk, who tells me that the King will come in, and that the soldiers at Dunkirk do drink the King's health in the streets. At night the Captain, Sir R. Stainer, Mr. Shepley, and I did sup together in the Captain's cabin. I made a commission for Captain Wilness of the Bear to-night, which got me 30 shillings. So after writing a while, I went to bed. 2nd. Up very early, and to get all my things and my boys packed up. Great concourse of commanders here this morning, to take leave of my Lord, upon his going into the Naseby, so that the table was full. So there dined below many commanders, and Mr. Creed, who was much troubled to hear that he could not go along with my Lord, for he had already got all his things thither, thinking to stay there, but W. Howe was very high against it, and he, indeed, did put him out, though everybody was glad of it. After dinner I went in one of the boats with my boy before my Lord, and made shift before night to get my cabin in pretty good order. It is but little, but very convenient, having one window to the sea, and another to the deck, and a good bed. This morning comes Mr. Ed Pickering, like a coxcomb, as he always was. He tells me that the King will come in, but that Monk did resolve to have the doing of it himself, or else to hinder it. 3rd. Late to bed. About 3 in the morning there was great knocking at my cabin, which with much difficulty, so they say, waked me, and I rose, but it was only for a packet, so went to my bed again, and in the morning gave it my Lord. This morning Captain Isham comes on board to see my Lord, and drunk his wine before he went into the Downs. There likewise come many merchants to get convoy to the Baltic, which a course was taken for. They dined with my Lord, and one of them by name Alderman Wood talked much to my Lord of the hopes that we had now to be settled, under the King he meant, but my Lord took no notice of it. After dinner, which was late, my Lord went on shore, and after him I and Captain Sparling went in his boat, but the water being almost at low water, we could not stay, for fear of not getting into our boat again, so back again. This day come the Lieutenant of the Swiftsure, who was sent by my Lord to Hastings, one of the Cinque Ports, to have got Mr. Edward Montague to have been one of their burgesses, but could not, for they were all promised before. After he had done his message, I took him and Mr. Pierce, the surgeon, who this day came on board, and not before, to my cabin, where we drank a bottle of wine. At night busy a writing, and so to bed. My heart exceeding heavy for not hearing of my dear wife, and indeed I do not remember that ever my heart was so apprehensive of her absence as at this very time. 4th. This morning I dispatched many letters of my own private business to London. There come Colonel Thompson with the wooden leg, and General Penn, and dined with my Lord and Mr. Blackburn, who told me that it was certain now that the King must of necessity come in, and that one of the council told him there is something doing in order to a treaty already among them. And it was strange to hear how Mr. Blackburn did already begin to commend him for a sober man, and how quiet he would be under his government, etc. I dined all alone to prevent company, which was exceeding great to-day, in my cabin. After these two were gone, Sir W. Wheeler and Sir John Peters came on board, and stayed about 2 or 3 hours, and so went away. The commissioners came to-day, only to consult about a further reducement of the fleet, and to pay them as fast as they can. I did give Davies, their servant, £5 10s. to give to Mr. Moore from me, in part of the £7 that I borrowed of him, and he is to discount the rest out of the 36 shillings that he do owe me. At night my Lord resolved to send the captain of our ship to Weymouth, and promote his being chosen there, which he did put himself into a readiness to do the next morning. 5th. Infinity of business all the morning of orders to make, that I was very much perplexed that Mr. Burr had failed me of coming back last night, and we ready to set sail, which we did about noon, and came in the evening to Lee Roads, and anchored. At night Mr. Shepley overtook us, who had been at Gray's Market this morning. I spent all the afternoon upon the deck, it being very pleasant weather. This afternoon Sir Richard Stainer and Mr. Creed, After we were come to anchor, did come on board, and Creed brought me £30, which my Lord had ordered him to pay me upon account, and Captain Clark brought me a noted caudle. At night very sleepy to bed. 6th. This morning came my brother-in-law Balty to see me, and to desire to be here with me as reformado, which did much trouble me. But after dinner, my Lord using him very civilly at table, I spoke to my Lord, and he presented me a letter to Captain Stokes for him, that he should be there. All the day with him walking and talking, we under sail as far as the Spits. In the afternoon W. Howe and I to our violins, the first time since we came on board. This afternoon I made even with my Lord to this day, and did give him all the money remaining in my hands. In the evening, it being fine moonshine, I stayed late walking upon the quarter-deck with Mr. Cuttance, learning of some sea terms, and so down to supper and to bed, having an hour before put Balty into Burr's cabin, he being out of the ship. 7th. This day, about 9 o'clock in the morning, the wind grew high, and we being among the sands lay at anchor. I began to be dizzy and squeamish. Before dinner my Lord sent for me down to eat some oysters, the best my Lord said that ever he ate in his life, though I have ate as good at Bardsey. After dinner and all the afternoon I walked upon the deck, to keep myself from being sick, and at last about 5 o'clock went to bed, and got a caudle made me, and sleep upon it very well. This day Mr. Shepley went to Sheppey. 8th, Lord's day. Very calm again, and I pretty well, but my head ached all day. About noon set sail. In our way I see many vessels and masts, which are now the greatest guides for ships. We had a brave wind all the afternoon, and overtook 2 good merchantmen that overtook us yesterday, going to the East Indies. The lieutenant and I lay out of his window with his glass, looking at the women that were on board them, being pretty handsome. This evening Major Willoughby, who had been here 3 or 4 days on board with Mr. Pickering, went on board a catch for Dunkirk. We continued sailing when I went to bed, being somewhat ill again, and Will Howe, the surgeon, parson, and Balty, supped in the lieutenant's cabin, and afterwards sat disputing, the parson for, and I against, extemporary prayers, very hot. 9th. We having sailed all night, were come in sight of the Nore and South Forelands in the morning, and so sailed all day. In the afternoon we had a very fresh gale, which I brooked better than I thought I should be able to do. This afternoon I first saw France and Calais, with which I was much pleased, though it was at a distance. About 5 o'clock we came to the Goodwin, so to the castles about Deal, where our fleet lay, among whom we anchored. Great was the shout of guns from the castles and ships, and our answers, that I never heard yet so great rattling of guns. Nor could we see one another on board for the smoke that was among us, nor one ship from another. Soon as we came to anchor, the captains came from on board their ships all to us on board. This afternoon I wrote letters for my Lord to the Council, etc., which Mr. Dickering was to carry, who took his leave this night of my Lord. And Balty, after I had wrote 2 or 3 letters by him to my wife and Mr. Bowyer, and had drank a bottle of wine with him in my cabin, which J. Goods and W. Howe brought on purpose, he took leave of me too, to go away to-morrow morning with Mr. Dickering. I lent Balty 15 shillings, which he was to pay to my wife. It was 1 in the morning before we parted. This evening Mr. Shepley came on board, having escaped a very great danger upon a sand coming from Chatham. 10th. This morning many or most of the commanders in the fleet came on board, and dined here, so that some of them and I dined together in the round house, where we were very merry. Hither came the Vice-Admiral to us, and sat and talked, and seemed a very good-natured man. At night, as I was all alone in my cabin, in a melancholy fit, playing on my violin, my Lord and Sir R. Stayner came into the coach, and supped there, and called me out to supper with them. After that, up to the lieutenant's cabin, where he and I and Sir Richard sat till 11 o'clock talking, and so to bed. This day my Lord Goring returned from France, and landed at Dover. 11th. A gentleman came this morning from my Lord of Manchester to my Lord, for a pass from Mr. Boyle, which was made him. I ate a good breakfast by my Lord's orders with him in the great cabin below. The wind all this day was very high, so that a gentleman that was at dinner with my Lord, that came along with Sir John Blois, who seemed a fine man, was forced to rise from table. This afternoon came a great packet of letters from London, directed to me, among the rest 2 from my wife, the first that I have since coming away from London. All the news from London is that things go on further towards the King, that the Skinners' Company the other day, at their entertaining of General Monk, had took down the Parliament arms in their hall, and set up the King's. In the evening my Lord and I had a great deal of discourse about the several captains of the fleet, and his interest among them, and had his mind clear to bring in the King. He confessed to me that he was not sure of his own captain, to be true to him, and that he did not like Captain Stokes. At night W. Howe and I at our violins in my cabin, where Mr. Ibbott and the lieutenant were late. I stayed the lieutenant late, shewing him my manner of keeping a journal. After that to bed. It comes now into my mind to observe that I am sensible that I have been a little too free to make mirth with the minister of our ship, he being a very sober and an upright man. 12th. This day, the weather being very bad, we had no strangers on board. In the afternoon came the Vice-Admiral on board, with whom my Lord consulted, and I sent a packet to London at night, with several letters to my friends, as to my wife about my getting of money for her when she should need it, to Mr. Bowyer, that he tell me when the messieurs of the officers be paid, to Mr. Moore about the business of my office, and making even with him as to matter of money. At night, after I had dispatched my letters, to bed. 13th. This day very foul all day for rain and wind. In the afternoon set my own things in my cabin and chests in better order than hitherto, and set my papers in order. At night sent another packet to London by the post, and after that was done, I went up to the lieutenant's cabin, and there we broached a vessel of ale that we had sent for among us from Deal to-day. There was the minister and doctor with us. After that till 1 o'clock in the morning writing letters to Mr. Downing about my business of continuing my office to myself, only Mr. Moore to execute it for me. I had also a very serious and effectual letter from my Lord to him to that purpose. After that done, then to bed, and it being very rainy, and the rain coming upon my bed, I went and lay with John Goods in the great cabin below, the wind being so high that we were fair to lower some of the masts. I to bed, and what with the goodness of the bed and the rocking of the ship, I slept till almost 10 o'clock, and then 14th. Rose and drank a good morning draught there with Mr. Shepley, which occasioned my thinking upon the happy life that I live now, had I nothing to care for but myself. The sea was this morning very high, and looking out of the window I saw our boat come with Mr. Pierce the surgeon in it in great danger, who endeavouring to come on board us had like to have been drowned, had it not been for a rope. This day I was informed that my Lord Lambert is got out of the Towers, and that there is £100 proffered to whoever shall bring him forth to the Council of State. My Lord is chosen at Weymouth this morning. My Lord had his freedom brought him by Captain Tiddyman of the port of Dover, by which he is capable of being elected for them. This day I heard that the army had in general declared to stand by what the next Parliament shall do. At night supped with my Lord. 15th, Lord's Day. Up early, and was trimmed by the barber in the great cabin below. After that to put my clothes on, and then to sermon, and then to dinner, where my Lord told us that the University of Cambridge had a mind to choose him for their burgess, which he pleased himself to think that they do look upon him as a thriving man, and said so openly at table. At dinner time, Mr. Cooke came back from London with a packet which caused my Lord to be full of thoughts all day, and at night he bid me privately to get 2 commissions ready, one for Captain Robert Blake to be Captain of the Worcester, in the room of Captain Deakings and Anabaptist, and one that had witnessed a great deal of discontent with the present proceedings. The other for Captain Coppin to come out of that into the Newbury, in the room of Blake, whereby I perceive that General Monk do resolve to make a thorough change, to make way for the King. From London I hear that since Lambert got out of the Tower, the fanatics had held up their heads high, but I hope all that will come to nothing. Late a writing of letters to London to get ready for Mr. Cooke. Then to bed. 16th. And about 4 o'clock in the morning Mr. Cooke waked me where I lay in the great cabin below, and I did give him his packet and directions for London. So to sleep again. All the morning giving out orders and tickets to the commanders of the fleet to discharge all supernumeraries that they had above the number that the Council had set in their last establishment. After dinner busy all the afternoon writing, and so till night, then to bed. 17th. All the morning getting ready commissions for the Vice-Admiral and the Rear-Admiral, wherein my Lord was very careful to express the utmost of his own power, commanding them to obey what orders they should receive from the Parliament, etc., or both or either of the generals. The Vice-Admiral dined with us, and in the afternoon my Lord called me to give him the commission for him, which I did, and he gave it him himself. A very pleasant afternoon, and I upon the deck all the day. It was so clear that my Lord's glass shewed us Calais very plain, and the cliffs were as plain to be seen as Kent, and my Lord at first made me believe that it was Kent. At night, after supper, my Lord called for the Rear Admiral's commission, which I brought him, and I sitting in my study heard my Lord discourse with him concerning D. King's and Newbury's being put out of commission. And by the way, I did observe that my Lord did speak more openly his mind to me afterwards at night than I can find that he did to the Rear Admiral, though his great confidant. For I was with him an hour together, when he told me clearly his thoughts that the King would carry it, and that he did think himself very happy that he was now at sea, as well for his own sake as that he thought he might do his country some service in keeping things quiet. To bed, and shifting myself from top to toe, there being J. Goods and W. Howe sat late by my bedside talking. So to sleep, every day bringing me a fresh sense of the pleasure of my present life. 18th. This morning very early came Mr. Edward Montague on board, but what was the business of his coming again, or before, without any servant, and making no stay at all, I cannot guess. This day Sir R. Stayner, Mr. Shepley, and as many of my Lord's people as could be spared, went to Dover, to get things ready against tomorrow for the election there. I all the afternoon dictating in my cabin, my own head being troubled with multiplicity of business, to Burr, who wrote for me above a dozen letters, by which I have made my mind more light and clear than I have had it yet since I came on board. At night sent a packet to London, and Mr. Cooke returned hence, bringing me this news, that the secretaries do talk high what they will do, but I believe all to no purpose, but the Cavaliers are something unwise to talk so high on the other side as they do. That the Lords do meet every day at my Lord of Manchester's, and resolve to sit the first day of the Parliament. That it is evident now, that the General and the Council do resolve to make way for the King's coming, and it is now clear, that either the fanatics must now be undone, or the gentry and citizens throughout England, and clergy, must fall, in spite of their militia and army, which is not at all possible, I think. At night I supped with W. Howe and Mr. Llewellyn, being the first time that I had been so long with him, in the great cabin below. After that to bed, and W. Howe sat by my bedside, and he and I sang a psalm or two, and so I to sleep. 19th. A great deal of business all this day, and Burr being gone to shore without my leave did vex me much. At dinner news was brought us that my Lord was chosen at Dover. This afternoon came one Mr. Mansell on board as a reformado, to whom my Lord did shew exceeding great respect, but upon what account I do not yet know. This day it has rained much, so that when I came to go to bed I found it wet through, so I was fain to wrap myself up in a dry sheet, and so lay all night. 20th. All the morning I was busy to get my window altered, and to have my table set as I would have it, which after it was done I was infinitely pleased with it, and also to see what a command I have to have every one ready to come and go at my command. This evening came Mr. Boyle on board, for whom I writ an order for a ship to transport him to Flushing. He supped with my Lord using him as a person of honour. This evening too came Mr. John Pickering on board us. This evening my head ached exceedingly, which I impute to my sitting backwards in my cabin, otherwise than I am used to do. To-night Mr. Shepley told me that he heard for certain at Dover that Mr. Edward Montague did go beyond sea when he was here first the other day, and I am apt to believe that he went to speak with the King. This day one told me how that at the election at Cambridge for Knights of the Shire, Wenby and Thornton, by declaring to stand for the Parliament and a King and the settlement of the Church, did carry it against all expectation against Sir Dudley North and Sir Thomas Willis. I supped to-night with Mr. Shepley below at the half-deck table, and after that I saw Mr. Pickering, whom my Lord brought down to his cabin, and so to bed. 21st. This day dined Sir John Boyce, and some other gentlemen formerly great Cavaliers, and among the rest one Mr. Norwood, for whom my Lord gave a convoy to carry him to the Brill. But he certainly going to the King, for my Lord commanded me that I should not enter his name in my book. My Lord do show them, and that sort of people, great civility. All their discourse and others are of the King's coming, and we begin to speak of it very freely, and heard how in many churches in London, and upon many signs there, and upon merchant ships in the river, they had set up the King's arms. In the afternoon the captain would by all means have me up to his cabin, and there treated me huge nobly, giving me a barrel of pickled oysters, and opened another for me, and a bottle of wine, which was a very great favour. At night late singing with W. Howe, and under the barber's hands in the coach. This night there came one with a letter from Mr. Edward Montague to my Lord, with command to deliver it to his own hands. I do believe that he do carry some close business on for the King. This day I had a large letter from Mr. Moore, giving me an account of the present dispute at London that is like to be at the beginning of the Parliament, about the House of Lords, who do resolve to sit with the Commons, as not thinking themselves dissolved yet. Which whether it be granted or no, or whether they will sit or no, it will bring a great many inconveniences. His letter I keep, it being a very well writ one. 22nd, Easter Sunday. Several Londoners, strangers, friends of the Captain's, dined here, who, among other things, told us, how the King's arms are every day set up in houses and churches, particularly in Allhallows Church in Thames Street, John Simpson's church, which being privately done was a great eyesore to his people when they came to church and saw it. Also they told us for certain that the King's statue is making by the Mercers' Company, who are bound to do it, to set up in the Exchange. After sermon in the afternoon I fell to writing letters against tomorrow, to send to London. After supper to bed. 23rd. All the morning very busy getting my packet ready for London. Only for an hour or two had the Captain and Mr. Shepley in my cabin, at the barrel of pickled oysters that the Captain did give me on Saturday last. After dinner I sent Mr. Dunn to London with the packet. This afternoon I had 40 shillings given me by Captain Cowes of the Paradox. In the evening the first time that we had any sport among the seamen, and indeed there was extraordinary good sport after my Lord had done playing at ninepins. After that W. Howe and I went to play 2 trebles in the great cabin below, which my Lord hearing, after supper he called for our instruments, and played a set of locks, 2 trebles, and a bass, and that being done, he fell to singing of a song made upon the rump, with which he played himself well, to the tune of the Blacksmith. After all that done, then to bed. 24th. This morning I had Mr. Llewellyn and Mr. Shepley to the remainder of my oysters that were left yesterday. After that, very busy all the morning. While I was at dinner with my Lord, the coxswain of the Vice-Admiral came for me to the Vice-Admiral to dinner. So I told my Lord, and he gave me leave to go. I rose therefore from table and went, where there was very many commanders, and very pleasant we were on board the London, which hath a state-room much bigger than the Naseby, but not so rich. After that, with the Captain on board our own ship, where we were saluted with the news of Lambert's being taken, which news was brought to London on Sunday last. He was taken in Northamptonshire by Colonel Inglesby, at the head of a party, by which means their whole design is broke, and things now very open and safe. And every man begins to be merry and full of hopes. In the afternoon my Lord gave a great large character to write out, so I spent all the day about it, and after supper my Lord and we had some more very good music and singing of Turn Amaryllis, as it is printed in the song-book, with which my Lord was very much pleased. After that to bed. 25th. All the morning about my Lord's character. Dined to-day with Captain Clark on board the Speaker, a very brave ship, where was the Vice-Admiral, Rear-Admiral, and many other commanders. After dinner home, not a little contented to see how I am treated, and with what respect made a fellow to the best commanders in the fleet. All the afternoon finishing off the character, which I did, and gave it my Lord, it being very handsomely done, and a very good one in itself, but that not truly alphabetical. Supped with Mr. Shepley, W. Howe, etc., in Mr. Pierce, the purser's cabin, were very merry, and so to bed. Captain Isham came hither to-day. 26th. This day came Mr. Dunn back from London, who brought letters with him that signify the meeting of the Parliament yesterday. And in the afternoon by other letters I hear, that about 12 of the Lords met, and had chosen my Lord of Manchester Speaker of the House of Lords. The young Lords that never sat yet do forbear to sit for the present. And Sir Harbottle Grimstone, Speaker for the House of Commons. The House of Lords sent to have a conference with the House of Commons, which, after a little debate, was granted. Dr. Reynolds preached before the Commons before they sat. My Lord told me how Sir H. Yelverton, formerly my schoolfellow, was chosen in the first place for Northamptonshire, and Mr. Crewe in the second, and told me how he did believe that the Cavaliers have now the upper hand clear of the Presbyterians. All the afternoon I was writing of letters, among the rest one to W. Simons, Peter Llewellyn, and Tom Doling, which, because it is somewhat merry, I keep a copy of. After that done, Mr. Shepley, W. Howe, and I down with J. Goods into my Lord's storeroom of wine and other drink, where it was very pleasant to observe the massy timbers that the ship is made of. We in the room were wholly under water, and yet a deck below that. After that to supper, where Tom Guy supped with us, and we had very good laughing, and after that some music, where Mr. Pickering, beginning to play a bass part upon the viol, did it so like a fool that I was ashamed of him. After that to bed. 27th. This morning Burr was absent again from on board, which I was troubled at, and spoke to Mr. Pierce, purser, to speak to him of it, and it is my mind. This morning Pym spent in my cabin, putting a great many ribbons to a suit. After dinner, in the afternoon, came on board Sir Thomas Hatton and Sir R. Mauleverer, going for Flushing. But all the world know that they go where the rest of the many gentlemen go, that every day flock to the King at Breda. They supped here, and my Lord treated them, as he do the rest that go thither, with a great deal of civility. While we were at supper, a packet came, wherein much news from several friends. The chief is that I had from Mr. Moore, viz., that he fears the cavaliers in the house will be so high, that the others will be forced to leave the house, and fall in with General Monk, and so offer things to the King so high on the Presbyterian account, that he may refuse, and so they will endeavour some more mischief. But when I told my Lord it, he shook his head and told me that the Presbyterians are deceived, for the General is certainly for the King's interest, and so they will not be able to prevail that way with him. After supper, the 2 knights went on board the Grantham, that is to convey them to Flushing. I am informed that the Exchequer is now so low, that there is not £20 there, to give the messenger that brought the news of Lambert's being taken, which story is very strange, that he should lose his reputation of being a man of courage, now at one blow, for that he was not able to fight one stroke, but desired of Colonel Inglesby several times, for God's sake, to let him escape. Late reading my letters, my mind being much troubled to think that, after all our hopes, we should have any cause to fear any more disappointments therein. To bed. This day I made even with Mr. Creed by sending him my bill, and he me my money by Burr, whom I sent for it. 28th. This morning sending a packet by Mr. Dunn to London. In the afternoon I played at ninepins with Mr. Pickering, I and Mr. Pett against him and Ted Osgood, and won a crown apiece of him. He had not money enough to pay me. After supper my Lord exceeding merry, and he and I and W. Howe to sing, and so to bed. 29th. Sunday. This day I put on first my fine cloth suit made of a cloak that had like to have been dirted a year ago, the very day that I put it on. After sermon in the morning, Mr. Cooke came from London with a packet, bringing news how all the young lords that were not in arms against the Parliament do now sit. That a letter is come from the King to the House, which is locked up by the Council till next Tuesday, that it may be read in the open house when they meet again, they having adjourned till then to keep a fast tomorrow. And so the contents is not yet known. 13,000 of the £20,000 given to General Monk is paid out of the Exchequer, he giving £12 among the teller clerks of Exchequer. My Lord called me into the great cabin below, where I opened my letters, and he told me that the Presbyterians are quite mastered by the Cavaliers, and that he fears Mr. Crew did go a little too far the other day, in keeping out the young lords from sitting. That he do expect that the King should be brought over suddenly, without staying to make any terms at all, saying that the Presbyterians did intend to have him brought in, with such conditions as if he had been in chains. But he shook his shoulders when he told me how Monk had betrayed him, for it was he that did put them upon standing to put out the Lords, and other members that came not within the qualifications, which he did not like. But, however, he had done his business, though it be with some kind of baseness. After dinner I walked a great while upon the deck, with the surgeon and purser, and other officers of the ship, and they all pray for the King's coming, which I pray God send. 30th. All the morning getting instructions ready for the squadron of ships that are going to-day to the Straits, among others Captain Teddiman, Curtis, and Captain Robert Blake, to be commander of the whole squadron. After dinner to ninepins, W. Howe and I against Mr. Creed and the captain. We lost 5 shillings apiece to them. After that W. Howe, Mr. Shepley, and I got my Lord's leave to go to see Captain Sparling. So we took boat and first went on shore, it being very pleasant in the fields, but a very pitiful town Deal is. We went to Fuller's, the famous place for ale, but they have none but what was in the vat. After that to Pool's, a tavern in the town, where we drank, and so to boat again, and went to the Assistants, where we were treated very civilly by the captain, and he did give us such music upon the harp by a fellow that he keeps on board, that I never expect to hear the like again. Yet he is a drunken simple fellow to look on as any I ever saw. After that on board the Naseby, where we found my Lord at supper, so I sat down, and very pleasant my Lord was with Mr. Creed and Shepley, who he puzzled about finding out the meaning of the 3 notes, which my Lord had cut over the crystal of his watch. After supper some music. Then Mr. Shepley, W. Howe, and I up to the lieutenant's cabin, where we drank, and I and W. Howe were very merry, and among other frolics he pulls out the spigot of the little vessel of ale that was there in the cabin, and drew some into his mountier. And after he had drank, I endeavouring to dash it in his face, he got my velvet studying cap, and drew some into mine too, that we made ourselves a great deal of mirth, but spoiled my clothes with the ale that we dashed up and down. After that to bed very late, with drink enough in my head. End of April. May, 1660. May 1st. This morning I was told how the people of Deal have set up 2 or 3 maypoles, and have hung up their flags upon the top of them, and do resolve to be very merry to-day. It being a very pleasant day, I wished myself in Hyde Park. This day I do count myself to have had full 2 years of perfect cure for the stone, for which God of heaven be blessed. This day Captain Parker came on board, and without his expectation I had a commission for him for the Nonsuch frigate, he being now in the Cheriton, for which he gave me a French pistol. Captain H. Cuttons has commission for the Cheriton. After dinner to ninepins, and won something. The rest of the afternoon in my cabin, writing and piping. While we were at supper we heard a great noise upon the quarter-deck, so we all rose instantly, and found it was to save the coxswain of the Cheriton, who, dropping overboard, could not be saved, but was drowned. To-day I put on my suit that was altered from the great skirts to little ones. To-day I hear they were very merry at Deal, setting up the King's flag upon one of their maypoles, and drinking his health upon their knees in the streets, and firing the guns, which the soldiers of the castle threatened, but durst not oppose. 2nd. In the morning at a breakfast of radishes at the purser's cabin. After that to writing till dinner, at which time comes Dunn from London, with letters that tell us the welcome news of the Parliament's votes yesterday, which will be remembered for the happiest May day that hath been many a year to England. The King's letter was read in the House, wherein he submits himself and all things to them, as to an act of oblivion to all, unless they shall please to accept any, as to the confirming of the sales of the King's and Church lands, if they see good. The House upon reading the letter ordered £50,000 to be forthwith provided to send to his Majesty for his present supply, and a committee chosen to return an answer of thanks to his Majesty for his gracious letter, and that the letter be kept among the records of the Parliament, and in all this not so much as one no, so that Luke Robinson himself stood up and made a recantation for what he had done, and promises to be a loyal subject to his prince for the time to come. The City of London have put a declaration, wherein they do disclaim their owing any other government but that of a King, Lords, and Commons. Thanks was given by the House to Sir John Greenville, one of the bedchamber to the King, who brought the letter, and they continued bare all the time it was reading. Upon notice made from the Lords to the Commons, of their desire that the Commons would join with them in their vote for King, Lords, and Commons, the Commons did concur, and voted that all books whatever that are out against the government of King, Lords, and Commons should be brought into the House and burned. Great joy all yesterday at London, and at night more bonfires than ever, and ringing of bells, and drinking of the King's health upon their knees in the streets, which methinks is a little too much. But everybody seems to be very joyful in their business, insomuch that our sea commanders now begin to say so too, which a week ago they would not do. And our seamen, as many as had money or credit for drink, did do nothing else this evening. This day came Mr. North, Sir Dudley North's son, on board, to spend a little time here, which my Lord was a little troubled at, but he seems to be a fine gentleman, and at night did play his part exceeding well at first sight. After music I went up to the Captain's cabin with him and Lieutenant Ferrers, who came hither to-day from London to bring this news to my Lord, and after a bottle of wine we all to bed. 3rd. This morning my Lord showed me the King's declaration and his letter to the 2 generals to be communicated to the fleet. The contents of the letter are his offer of grace to all that will come in within 40 days, only excepting them that the Parliament shall hereafter accept, that the sales of lands during these troubles, and all other things, shall be left to the Parliament, by which he will stand. The letter dated at Breda, April 4th, 1660, in the 12th year of his reign. Upon the receipt of it this morning by an express, Mr. Phillips, one of the messengers of the Council from General Monk, my Lord summoned a council of war, and in the meantime did dictate to me how he would have the vote ordered, which he would have passed this council. Which done, the commanders all came on board, and the council sat in the coach, the first council of war that had been in my time, where I read the letter and declaration, and while they were discoursing upon it, I seemed to draw up a vote, which being offered, they passed. Not one man seemed to say no to it, though I am confident many in their hearts were against it. After this was done, I went up to the quarter-deck with my lord and the commanders, and there read both the papers and the vote, which done, and demanding their opinion, the seamen did all of them cry out, God bless King Charles, with the greatest joy imaginable. That being done, Sir R. Stayner, who had invited us yesterday, took all the commanders and myself on board him to dinner, which not being ready, I went with Captain Hayward to the Plymouth and Essex, and did what I had to do there, and returned. Were very merry at dinner. After dinner to the rest of the ships, stayed at the Assistance to hear the harper a good while, quite through the fleet, which was a very brave sight to visit all the ships, and to be received with the respect and honour that I was on board them all, and much more to see the great joy that I brought to all men, not one through the whole fleet showing the least dislike of the business. In the evening, as I was going on board the Vice-Admiral, the General began to fire his guns, which he did all that he had in the ship, and so did all the rest of the commanders, which was very gallant, and to hear the bullets go hissing over our heads as we were in the boat. This done, and finished my proclamation, I returned to the Naseby, where my lord was much pleased to hear how all the fleet took it in a transport of joy. Showed me a private letter of the King's to him, and another from the Duke of York in such familiar style as to their common friend, with all kindness imaginable. And I found by the letters, and so my lord told me too, that there had been many letters passed between them for a great while, and I perceive unknown to Monk. And among the rest that had carried these letters, Sir John Boys is one, and that Mr. Norwood, which had a ship to carry him over the other day, when my lord would not have me put down his name in the book. The King speaks of his being courted to come to the Hague, but do desire my lord's advice whither to come to take ship. And the Duke offers to learn the seaman's trade of him, in such familiar words as if Jack Cole and I had writ them. This was very strange to me, that my lord should carry all things so wisely and prudently as he do, and I was overjoyful to see him in so good condition, and he did not a little please himself to tell me how he had provided for himself so great a hold on the King. After this to supper, and then to writing of letters till 12 at night, and so up again at 3 in the morning. My lord seemed to put great confidence in me, and would take my advice in many things. I perceive his being willing to do all the honour in the world to Monk, and to let him have all the honour of doing the business, though he will many times express his thoughts of him to be but a thick-skulled fool. So that I do believe there is some agreement more than ordinary between the King and my lord to let Monk carry on the business. For it is he that must do the business, or at least that can hinder it, if he be not flattered and observed. This my lord will hint himself sometimes. My lord, I perceive by the King's letter, had writ to him about his father, Crew, and the King did speak well of him, but my lord tells me that he is afeard that he hath too much concerned himself with the Presbyterians against the House of Lords, which will do him a great discourtesy. 4th. I wrote this morning many letters, and to all the copies of the vote of the Council of War I put my name, that if it should come in print, my name may be at it. I sent a copy of the vote to Doling, enclosed in this letter. Sir, he that can fancy a fleet like ours in her pride, with pendants loose, guns roaring, caps flying, and the loud vive le rois echoed from one ship's company to another, he and he only can apprehend the joy this enclosed vote was received with, or the blessing he thought himself possessed of that bore it, and is your humble servant. About 9 o'clock I got all my letters done, and sent them by the messenger that came yesterday. This morning came Captain Isham on board with a gentleman going to the King, by whom very cunningly, my lord tells me, he intends to send an account of this day's and yesterday's actions here, notwithstanding he had writ to the Parliament, to have leave of them to send the King the answer of the fleet. Since my writing of the last paragraph, my lord called me to him, to read his letter to the King, to see whether I could find any slips in it or no, and as much of the letter as I can remember is thus. May it please your most excellent Majesty, and so begins. That he yesterday received from General Monk his Majesty's letter and direction, and that General Monk had desired him to write to the Parliament, to have leave to send the vote of the seamen before he did send it to him, which he had done by writing to both speakers. But for his private satisfaction he had sent it thus privately, and so the copy of the proceedings yesterday was sent him, and that this come by a gentleman that came this day on board, intending to wait upon his Majesty, that he is my lord's countryman, and one whose friends have suffered much on his Majesty's behalf. That my Lords Pembroke and Salisbury are put out of the House of Lords, that my lord is very joyful that other countries do pay him the civility and respect due to him, and that he do much rejoice to see that the King do resolve to receive none of their assistance, or some such words, from them, he having strength enough in the love and loyalty of his own subjects to support him, that his Majesty had chosen the best place, Scheveling, for his embarking, and that there is nothing in the world of which he is more ambitious than to have the honour of attending his Majesty, which he hoped would be speedy. That he had commanded the vessel to attend at Helversluys till this gentleman returns, that so if his Majesty do not think it fit to command the fleet himself, yet that he may be there to receive his commands and bring them to his lordship. He ends his letter, that he is confounded with the thoughts of the high expressions of love to him in the King's letter, and concludes your most loyal, dutiful, faithful, and obedient subject and servant, E.M. The rest of the afternoon at ninepins. In the evening came a packet from London, among the rest a letter from my wife, which tells me that she has not been well, which did exceedingly trouble me. But my Lord sending Mr. Cooke at night, I wrote to her, and sent a piece of gold enclosed to her, and wrote also to Mrs. Bowyer, and enclosed a half piece to her for a token. After supper at the table in the coach, my Lord talking concerning the uncertainty of the places of the Exchequer to them that had them now, he did at last think of an office which do belong to him in case the King do restore every man to his places that ever had been patent, which is to be one of the clerks of the signet, which will be a fine employment for one of his sons. After all this discourse we broke up and to bed. In the afternoon came a minister on board, one Mr. Sharp, who is going to the King, who tells me that commissioners are chosen both of Lords and Commons to go to the King, and that Dr. Clarges is going to him from the army, and that he will be here to-morrow. My letters at night tell me that the House did deliver their letter to Sir John Greenville in answer to the King's sending, and that they gave him £500 for his pains to buy him a jewel, and that besides the £50,000 ordered to be borrowed of the City for the present use of the King, the 12 companies of the City do give every one of them to his Majesty, as a present, £1,000. 5th. All the morning very busy writing letters to London, and a packet to Mr. Downing, to acquaint him with what had been done lately in the fleet. And this I did by my Lord's command, who, I thank him, did of himself think of doing it, to do me a kindness, for he writ a letter himself to him, thanking him for his kindness to me. All the afternoon at ninepins. At night after supper good music, my Lord, Mr. North, I, and W. Howe. After that to bed. This evening came Dr. Clarges to Deal, going to the King, where the townspeople strewed the streets with herbs against his coming, for joy of his going. Never was there so general a content as there is now. I cannot but remember that our parson did in his prayer to-night pray for the long life and happiness of our King and dread Sovereign, that may last as long as the sun and moon endureth. 6th, Lord's Day. This morning, while we were at sermon, comes in Dr. Clarges and a dozen gentlemen to see my Lord, who after sermon dined with him. I remember that last night, upon discourse concerning Clarges, my Lord told me that he was a man of small entendimiento. This afternoon there was a gentleman with me, an officer of Dunkirk going over, who came to me for an order, and told me he was lately with my uncle and Aunt Fenner, and that Kate's fits of the convulsions did hold her still. It fell very well to-day. A stranger preached here for Mr. Ibbott, one Mr. Stanley, who prayed for King Charles by the grace of God, etc., which gave great contentment to the gentlemen that were on board here, and they said they would talk of it when they come to Breda, as not having it done yet in London so publicly. After they were gone from on board, my Lord writ a letter to the King, and gave it to me to carry privately to Sir William Compton on board the Assistance, which I did, and after health to his Majesty on board there, I left them under sail for Breda. Back again and found them at sermon. I went up to my cabin and looked over my accounts, and find that all my debts paid and my preparations to sea paid for, I have £640 clear in my purse. After supper to bed. 7th. This morning Captain Cutton sent me 12 bottles of Margate ale. 3 of them I drank presently with some friends in the coach. My Lord went this morning about the flagships in a boat, to see what alterations there must be as to the arms and flags. He did give me order also to write for silk flags and scarlet waistcloths, for a rich barge, for a noise of trumpets, and a set of fiddlers. Very great deal of company come to-day, among others Mr. Bellasses, Sir Thomas Lenthrop, Sir Henry Chichley, Colonel Philip Honeywood, and Captain Titus, the last of whom my Lord showed all our cabins, and I suppose he is to take notice what room there will be for the King's entertainment. Here were also all the jurates of the town of Dover, come to give my Lord a visit, and after dinner all went away. I could not but observe that the Vice Admiral after dinner came into the great cabin below, where the Jurates and I, and the commanders, for want of room, dined, and there told us we must drink a health to the King, and himself called for a bottle of wine, and begun his and the Duke of York's. In the afternoon I lost 5s. at ninepins. After supper music, and to bed. Having also among us at the coach table wrote a letter to the French ambassador in French about the release of a ship we had taken. After I was in bed, Mr. Shepley and W. Howe came and sat in my cabin, where I gave them 3 bottles of Margate ale, and sat laughing and very merry, till almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and so good night. 8th. All the morning busy. After dinner come several persons of honour, as my Lord St. John and others, for convoy to Flushing, and great giving of them salutes. My Lord and we at ninepins. I lost 9s. While we were at play, Mr. Cooke brings me word of my wife. He went to Huntsmore to see her, and brought her and my father Bowyer to London, where he left her at my father's very well, and speaks very well of her love to me. My letters to-day tell me how it was intended that the King should be proclaimed to-day in London, with a great deal of pomp. I had also news who they are that are chosen of the Lords and Commons to attend the King, and also the whole story of what we did the other day in the Fleet, at reading of the King's declaration, and my name at the bottom of it. After supper some music, and to bed, I resolving to rise betimes to-morrow to write letters to London. 9th. Up very early writing a letter to the King, as from the 2 Generals of the Fleet in answer to his letter to them, wherein my Lord to give most humble thanks for his gracious letter and declaration, and promises all duty and obedience to him. This letter was carried this morning to Sir Peter Killigrew, who came hither this morning early to bring an order from the Lord's house to my Lord, giving him power to write an answer to the King. This morning my Lord St. John and other persons of honour were here to see my Lord, and so away to Flushing. After they were gone, my Lord and I to write letters to London, which we sent by Mr. Cooke, who was very desirous to go, because of seeing my wife before she went out of town. As we were sitting down to dinner, in comes Noble with a letter from the House of Lords to my Lord, to desire him to provide ships to transport the Commissioners to the King, which are expected here this week. He brought us certain news that the King was proclaimed yesterday with great pomp, and brought down one of the proclamations with great joy to us all, for which God be praised. After dinner to ninepins, and lost 5s. This morning came Mr. Saunderson, that writ the story of the King, hither, who is going over to the King. He calls me cousin, and seems a very knowing man. After supper to bed betimes, leaving my Lord talking in the coach with the Captain. 10th. This morning came on board Mr. Pinkney and his son, going to the King, with a petition finely writ by Mr. Hoare, for to be the King's embroiderer, for whom and Mr. Saunderson I got a ship. This morning come my Lord Winchelsea and a great deal of company, and dined here. In the afternoon, while my Lord and we were at music in the great cabin below, comes in a messenger to tell us that Mr. Edward Montague, my Lord's son, was come to Deal, who afterwards came on board with Mr. Pickering with him. The child was sick in the evening. At night, while my Lord was at supper, in comes my Lord Lauderdale and Sir John Greenville, who supped here, and so went away. After they were gone, my Lord called me into his cabin, and told me how he was commanded to set sail presently for the King, and was very glad thereof, and so put me to writing of letters and other work that night, till it was very late, he going to bed. I got him afterwards to sign things in bed. After I had done some more work, I to bed also. 11th. Up very early in the morning, and so about a great deal of business in order to our going hence to-day. Burr going on shore last night made me very angry, so that I sent for Mr. Pitts to come to me from the Vice Admiral's, intending not to have employed Burr any more. But Burr by and by coming, and desiring humbly that I would forgive him, and Pitts not coming, I did set him to work. This morning we began to pull down all the States' arms in the Fleet, having first sent to Dover for painters and others to come to set up the King's. The rest of the morning writing of letters to London, which I afterwards sent by Dunn. I had this morning my first opportunity of discoursing with Dr. Clarke, whom I found to be a very pretty man and very knowing. He is now going in this ship to the King. There dined here my Lord Crafford and my Lord Cavendish, and other Scotchmen, whom I afterwards ordered to be received on board the Plymouth, and to go along with us. After dinner we set sail from the Downs, I leaving my boy to go to Deal for my linen. In the afternoon overtook us 3 or 4 gentlemen, 2 of the Berties, and one Mr. Dormerhoy, a Scotch gentleman, whom I afterwards found to be a very fine man, who, telling my Lord that they heard the Commissioners were come out of London to-day, my Lord dropped anchor over against Dover Castle, which give us about 30 guns in passing, and upon a high debate with the Vice and Rear Admiral whether it were safe to go and not stay for the Commissioners, he did resolve to send Sir R. Stayner to Dover to inquire of my Lord Winchelsea whether or no they are come out of London, and then to resolve to-morrow morning of going or not, which was done. It blew very hard all this night, that I was afeard of my boy. About 11 at night came the boats from Deal, with great store of provisions. By the same token John Goods told me that above 20 of the fowls are smothered, but my boy was put on board the Northwich. To bed. 12th. This morning I inquired for my boy, whether he was come well or no, and it was told me that he was well in bed. My Lord called me to his chamber, he being in bed, and gave me many orders to make for direction for the ships that are left in the Downs, giving them the greatest charge in the world to bring no passengers with them, when they come after us to Sheveling Bay, excepting Mr. Edward Montague, Mr. Thomas Crew, and Sir H. Wright. Sir R. Stayner hath been here early in the morning, and told my Lord that my Lord Winchelsea understands by letters that the Commissioners are only to come to Dover to attend the coming over of the King. So my Lord did give order for weighing anchor, which we did, and sailed all day. In our way in the morning, coming in the midway between Dover and Calais, we could see both places very easily, and very pleasant it was to me that the further we went, the more we lost sight of both lands. In the afternoon at cards with Mr. North and the Doctor. There by us, in the Lark frigate, Sir R. Freeman and some others, going from the King to England, come to see my Lord, and so onward on their voyage. In the afternoon, upon the quarter deck, the Doctor told Mr. North and me an admirable story called The Fruitless Precaution, an exceeding pretty story, and worthy my getting without book when I can get the book. This evening came Mr. Shepley on board, whom we had left at Deal and Dover getting of provision and borrowing of money. In the evening late, after discoursing with the Doctor, etc., to bed. 13th, Lord's Day. Trimmed in the morning, after that to the cook's room with Mr. Shepley, the first time that I was there this voyage. Then to the quarter deck, upon which the tailors and painters were at work, cutting out some pieces of yellow cloth into the fashion of a crown, and CR, and put it upon a fine sheet, and that into the flag instead of the State's arms, which after dinner was finished and set up, after it had been shewn to my Lord, who took physic to-day, and was in his chamber, and liked it so well as to bid me give the tailors 20 shillings among them for doing of it. This morn Sir J. Boys and Captain Isham met us in the Nonsuch, the first of whom, after a word or two with my Lord, went forward, the other stayed. I heard by them how Mr. Downing had never made any address to the King, and for that was hated exceedingly by the Court, and that he was in a Dutch ship which sailed by us, then going to England with disgrace. Also how Mr. Morland was knighted by the King this week, and that the King did give the reason of it openly, that it was for his giving him intelligence all the time he was clerk to Secretary Thurlow. In the afternoon a council of war, only to acquaint them that the Harp must be taken out of all their flags, it being very offensive to the King. Mr. Cooke, who came after us in the Yarmouth, bringing me a letter from my wife, and a Latin letter from my brother John, with both of which I was exceedingly pleased. No sermon all day, we being under sail, only at night prayers, wherein Mr. Ibbott prayed for all that were related to us in a spiritual and fleshly way. We came within sight of Middle Shore. Late at night we writ letters to the King of the news of our coming, and Mr. Edward Pickering carried them. Captain Isham went on shore, nobody showing of him any respect, so the old man very fairly took leave of my Lord, and my Lord very coldly bid him, God be with you, which was very strange, but that I hear that he keeps a great deal of prating and talking on shore, on board at the King's courts, what command he had with my Lord, etc. After letters were gone, then to bed. 14th. In the morning, when I woke and rose, I saw myself out of the scuttle, close by the shore, which afterwards I was told to be the Dutch shore. The Hague was clearly to be seen by us. My Lord went up in his nightgown into the cuddy, to see how to dispose thereof for himself and us that belong to him, to give order for our removal to-day. Some nasty Dutchmen came on board to proffer their boats to carry things from us on shore, etc., to get money by us. Before noon some gentlemen came on board from the shore to kiss my Lord's hands, and by Mr. North and Dr. Clark went to kiss the Queen of Bohemia's hands, from my Lord, with 12 attendants from on board to wait on them, among which I sent my boy, who, like myself, is with child to see any strange thing. After noon they came back again, after having kissed the Queen of Bohemia's hand, and were sent again by my Lord to do the same to the Prince of Orange. So I got the captain to ask leave for me to go, which my Lord did give, and I, taking my boy and Judge Advocate with me, went in company with them. The weather bad, we were sadly washed when we came near the shore, it being very hard to land there. The shore is, as all the country between that and the Hague, all sand. The rest of the company got a coach by themselves. Mr. Creed and I went in the fore part of a coach, wherein were two very pretty ladies, very fashionable, and with black patches, who very merrily sang all the way, and that very well, and were very free to kiss the two blades that were with them. I took up my flageolet and piped, but in piping I dropped my rapier stick, but when I came to the Hague I set my boy back again for it, and he found it, for which I did give him sixpence, but some horses had gone over it and broke the scabbard. The Hague is a most neat place in all respects, the houses so neat in all places and things as is possible. Here we walked up and down a great while, the town being now very full of Englishmen, for that the Londoners were come on shore to-day. But going to see the Prince, he was gone forth with his governor, and so we walked up and down the town and court to see the place, and by the help of a stranger, an Englishman, we saw a great many places, and were made to understand many things, as the intention of maypoles, which we saw there standing at every great man's door, of different greatness according to the quality of the person. About 10 at night the Prince comes home, and we found an easy admission. His attendants very inconsiderable as for a prince, but yet handsome, and his tutor a fine man, and himself a very pretty boy. It was bright moonshine to-night. This done, we went to a place we had taken to sup in, where a sallet and 2 or 3 bones of mutton were provided for a matter of 10 of us, which was very strange. After supper, the judge and I to another house, leaving them there, and he and I lay in one press bed, there being 2 more in the same room, but all very neat and handsome, my boy sleeping upon a bench by me. 15th. We lay till past 3 o'clock, then up and down the town to see it by daylight, where we saw the soldiers of the Prince's Guard, all very fine, and the burghers of the town with their arms and muskets as bright as silver. And meeting this morning a schoolmaster that spoke good English and French, he went along with us and shewed us the whole town, and indeed I cannot speak enough of the gallantry of the town. Everybody of fashion speaks French, or Latin, or both. The women, many of them very pretty and in good habits, fashionable, and black spots. He went with me to buy a couple of baskets, one of them for Mrs. Pierce, the other for my wife. After he was gone, we having first drank with him at our lodging, the judge and I to the Grand Salle, where we were shewed the place where the States General sit in council. The hall is a great place, where the flags that they take from their enemies are all hung up, and things to be sold, as in Westminster Hall, and not much unlike it, but that not so big, but much neater. After that to a bookseller's, and bought for the love of the binding 3 books, the French Psalms in 4 parts, Bacon's Organon, and Farnaby Rhetoric. After that, the judge, I and my boy, by coach to Scheveling again, where we went into a house of entertainment and drank there, the wind being very high, and we saw 2 boats overset, and the gallants forced to be pulled on shore by the heels, while their trunks, portmanteaus, hats, and feathers were swimming in the sea. Among others I saw the ministers that come along with the commissioners, Mr. Case among the rest, sadly dipped. So they came in where we were, and I being in haste left my Copenhagen knife, and so lost it. Having stayed here a great while, a gentleman that was going to kiss my Lord's hand, from the Queen of Bohemia, and I, hired a Dutch boat for 4 rix dollars to carry us on board. We were fain to wait a great while before we could get off from the shore, the sea being very rough. The Dutchman would fain have made all pay that came into our boat besides us 2 in our company, there being many of our ship's company got in who were on shore, but some of them had no money, having spent all on shore. Coming on board, we found all the Commissioners of the House of Lords at dinner with my Lord, who after dinner went away for shore. Mr. Morland, now Sir Samuel, was here on board, but I do not find that my Lord or anybody did give him any respect, he being looked upon by him and all men as a knave. Among others, he betrayed Sir Richard Willis, that married Dr. F. Jones's daughter, that he had paid him £1,000 at one time by the Protector's and Secretary Thurlow's order for intelligence that he sent concerning the King. In the afternoon my Lord called me on purpose to show me his fine clothes, which are now come hither, and indeed are very rich as gold and silver can make them. Only his sword he and I do not like. In the afternoon my Lord and I walked together in the coach 2 hours, talking together upon all sorts of discourse, as religion, wherein he is, I perceive, wholly sceptical as well as I, saying, that indeed the Protestants, as to the Church of Rome, are wholly fanatics. He likes uniformity and form of prayer. About state business, among other things, he told me that his conversion to the King's cause, for so I was saying that I wondered from what time the King could look upon him to become his friend, commenced from his being in the Sound, when he found what usage he was likely to have from a Commonwealth. My Lord the Captain and I supped in my Lord's chamber, where I did perceive that he did begin to show me much more respect than ever he did yet. After supper my Lord sent for me, intending to have me play at cards with him. But I not knowing cribbage, we fell into discourse of many things, till it was so rough sea, and the ship rolled so much, that I was not able to stand, and so he bid me go to bed. 16th. Soon as I was up, I went down to be trimmed below in the great cabin, but then come in some with visits, among the rest one from Admiral Opdown, who spoke Latin well, but not French nor English, to whom my Lord made me to give his answer, and to entertain. He brought my Lord a tierce of wine and a barrel of butter, as a present from the Admiral. After that to finish my trimming, and while I was doing of it, in comes Mr. North, very seasick from shore, and to bed he goes. After that to dinner, where Commissioner Pett was come to take care to get all things ready for the King on board. My Lord in his best suit, this the first day in expectation to wait upon the King. But Mr. Edward Pickering coming from the King brought word, that the King would not put my Lord to the trouble of coming to him, but that he would come to the shore to look upon the fleet to-day, which we expected, and had our guns ready to fire, and our scarlet waistclothes out, and silk pendants, but he did not come. My Lord and we at ninepins this afternoon upon the quarter-deck, which was very pretty sport. This evening came Mr. John Pickering on board, like an ass, with his feathers and new suit, that he had made at the Hague. My Lord very angry for his staying on shore, bidding me a little before to send to him, telling me that he was afraid that for his father's sake he might have some mischief done him, unless he used the General's name. To supper, and after supper to cards. I stood by and looked on till 11 at night, and so to bed. This afternoon Mr. Edward Pickering told me in what a sad poor condition for clothes and money the King was, and all his attendants, when he came to him first from my Lord, their clothes not being worth 40 shillings the best of them. And how overjoyed the King was when Sir J. Greenville brought him some money. So joyful that he called the Princess Royal and Duke of York to look upon it as it lay in the portmanteau before it was taken out. My Lord told me too that the Duke of York is made High Admiral of England. 17th. Up early to write down my last 2 days' observations. Dr. Clarke came to me to tell me that he heard this morning, by some Dutch that are come on board, all ready to see the ship, that there was a Portuguese taken yesterday at the Hague that had a design to kill the King. But this I heard afterwards was only the mistake upon one being observed to walk with his sword naked, he having lost his scabbard. Before dinner, Mr. Edward Pickering and I, W. Howe, Pym, and my boy, to Scheveling, where we took coach and so to the Hague, where, walking, intending to find one that might show us the King incognito, I met with Captain Whittington, that had formerly brought a letter to my Lord from the Mayor of London, and he did promise me to do it. But first we went and dined at a French house, but paid 16 shillings for our part of the club. At dinner in came Dr. Cade, a merry mad parson of the King's, and they two after dinner got the child and me, the others not being able to crowd in, to see the King, who kissed the child very affectionately. Then we kissed his, and the Duke of York's, and the Princess Royal's hands. The King seems to be a very sober man, and a very splendid court he hath in the number of persons of quality that are about him, English very rich in habit, from the King to the Lord Chancellor, who did lie bed-rid of the gout. He spoke very merrily to the child and me. After that, going to see the Queen of Bohemia, I met with Dr. Fullers, whom I sent to a tavern with Mr. Edward Pickering, while I and the rest went to see the Queen, who used us very respectfully. Her hand we all kissed. She seems a very debonair but plain lady. After that to the doctor's, where we drank a while or so. In a coach of a friend's of Dr. Cade. We went to see a house of the Princess Dowager's in a park about half a mile or a mile from the Hague, where there is one, the most beautiful room for pictures in the whole world. She had here one picture upon the top, with these words, dedicating it to the memory of her husband: Incomparabili marito, inconsolabilis vidua. Here I met with Mr. Woodcock of Cambridge, Mr. Hardy, and another, and Mr. Woodcock beginning, we had 2 or 3 fine songs, he and I, and W. Howe to the echo, which was very pleasant, and the more because, in a heaven of pleasure, and in a strange country, that I never was taken up more with a sense of pleasure in my life. After that we parted, and back to the Hague, and took a tour or two about the forehold, where the ladies in the evening do as our ladies do in Hyde Park. But for my life I could not find one handsome, but their coaches very rich, and themselves so too. From thence taking leave of the Doctor, we took waggon to Scheveling, where we had a fray with the boatswain of the Richmond, who would not freely carry us on board, but at last he was willing to it. But then it was so late we durst not go. So we returned between 10 and 11 at night in the dark with a waggon with one horse to the Hague, where being come we went to bed as well as we could be accommodated, and so to sleep. 18th. Very early up, and hearing that the Duke of York, our Lord High Admiral, would go on board to day, Mr. Pickering and I took waggon for Scheveling, leaving the child in Mr. Pierce's hands, with directions to keep him within doors all day till he heard from me. But the wind being very high that no boat could get off from shore, we returned to the Hague, having breakfasted with a gentleman of the Duke's and Commissioner Pett, sent on purpose to give notice to my Lord of his coming, where I hear that the child is gone to Delft to see the town. So we all and Mr. Ibbott, the minister, took a street, and very much pleased with the manner and conversation of the passengers, where most speak French, went after them, but met them by the way. But however we went forward, making no stop, where when we were come we got a smith's boy of the town to go along with us, but could speak nothing but Dutch, and he showed us the church where Van Trump lies entombed, with a very fine monument. His epitaph concluded thus: Tandem bello Anglico, tantum non victor, Certe invictus, vivere et vincere desiet. There is a sea fight cut in marble, with the smoke the best expressed that ever I saw in my life. From thence to the great church, that stands in a fine great market-place, over against the Stadthouse, and there I saw a stately tomb of the old Prince of Orange, of marble and brass, wherein, among other rarities, there are the angels with their trumpets expressed, as it were crying. Here were very fine organs in both the churches. It is a most sweet town, with bridges and a river in every street. Observing that in every house of entertainment there hangs in every room a poor man's box, and desiring to know the reason thereof, it was told me that it is their custom to confirm all bargains by putting something in the poor people's box, and that binds as fast as anything. We also saw the guest house, where it was very pleasant to see what neat preparation there is for the poor. We saw one poor man a-dying there. After we had seen all, we light by chance of an English house to drink in, where we were very merry, discoursing of the town and the thing that hangs up in the Stadthouse like a bushel, which I was told is a sort of punishment for some sort of offenders to carry through the streets of the town over his head, which is a great weight. Back by water, where a pretty sober Dutch lass sat reading all the way, and I could not fasten any discourse upon her. At our landing we met with Commissioner Pett going down to the waterside with Major Harley, who is going upon a dispatch into England. They having a coach, I left the parson and my boy, and went along with Commissioner Pett, Mr. Ackworth, and Mr. Dawes his friends, to the Princess Dowager's house again. Thither also my Lord Fairfax and some other English lords did come to see it, and my pleasure was increased by seeing of it again. Besides, we went into the garden, wherein I gallant nuts better than ever I saw, and a fine echo under the house in a vault made on purpose with pillars, where I played on my flageolet to great advantage. Back to the Hague, where not finding Mr. Edward, I was much troubled, but went with the parson to supper to Commissioner Pett, where we sat late. And among other mirth, Mr. Ackworth vied wives, each endeavouring to set his own wife out to the best advantage, he having, as they said, an extraordinary handsome wife. But Mr. Dawes could not be got to say anything of his. After that to our lodging, where W. Howe and I exceeding troubled, not to know what is become of our young gentleman. So to bed. 19th. Up early, hearing nothing of the child, and went to Scheveling, where I found no getting on board, though the Duke of York sent every day to see whether he could do it or no. Here I met with Mr. Pinkney and his sons, and with them went back to the Hague, in our way lighting and going to see a woman that makes pretty rockwork in shells, etc., which could I have carried safe I would have bought some of. At the Hague we went to buy some pictures, where I saw a sort of painting done upon woolen cloth, drawn as if there was a curtain over it, which was very pleasant, but dear. Another pretty piece of painting I saw, on which there was a great wager laid by young Pinkney and me, whether it was a principal or a copy, but not knowing how to decide, it was broken off, and I got the old man to lay out as much as my piece of gold come to, and so saved my money, which had been 24 shillings lost, I fear. While we were here buying of pictures, we saw Mr. Edward and his company land, who told me that they had been at Leyden all night, at which I was very angry with Mr. Pierce, and shall not be friends, I believe, a good while. To our lodging to dinner. After that, out to buy some linen to wear against tomorrow, and so to the barber's. After that by waggon to Lausdune, where the 365 children were born. We saw the hill where they say the house stood, and sunk wherein the children were born. The basins, wherein the male and female children were baptized, do stand over a large table that hangs upon a wall, with the whole story of the thing in Dutch and Latin, beginning Margarita Hermann Comitissa, etc. The thing was done about 200 years ago. The town is a little small village, which answers much to one of our small villages, such a one as Chesterton in all respects. and one could have thought it in England but for the language of the people. We went into a little drinking house, where there were a great many Dutch Boers, eating of fish in a Boerish manner, but very merry in their way. But the houses here as neat as in the great places. From thence to the Hague again, playing at Crambo. In the waggon, Mr. Edward, Mr. Ibbott, W. Howe, Mr. Pinkney, and I. When we were come thither, W. Howe and Mr. Ibbott and Mr. Pinkney went away for Scheveling, while I and the child to walk up and down the town, where I met my old chamber fellow, Mr. Charles Anderson, and a friend of his, both physicians, Mr. Wright, who took me to a Dutch house, where there was an exceeding pretty lass, and right for the sport, but it being Saturday, we could not have much of her company. But however I staid with them, having left the child with my uncle Pickering, whom I met in the street, till 12 at night. By that time Charles was almost drunk, and then broke up, he resolving to go thither again, after he had seen me at my lodging, and lie with the girl, which he told me he had done in the morning. Going to my lodging, we met with the bellman, who struck upon a clapper which I took in my hand, and it is just like the clapper that our boys frightened the birds away from the corn with, in summer time in England. To bed. 20th. Up early, and with Mr. Pickering and the child by waggon to Scheveling, where it not being yet fit to go off, I went to lie down in a chamber in the house, where in another bed there was a pretty Dutch woman in bed alone. But though I had a month's mind, I had not the boldness to go to her. So there I slept an hour or two. At last she rose, and then I rose and walked up and down the chamber, and saw her dress herself after the Dutch dress, and talked to her as much as I could, and took occasion, from her ring which she wore on her first finger, to kiss her hand, but had not the face to offer anything more. So at last I left her there, and went to my company. About 8 o'clock I went into the church at Scheveling, which was pretty handsome, and in the chancel a very great upper part of the mouth of a whale, which indeed was of a prodigious bigness, bigger than one of our long boats that belonged to one of our ships. Commissioner Pett at last came to our lodging, and caused the boats to go off. So some in one boat, and some in another, we all bid adieu to the shore. But through badness of weather we were in great danger, and a great while before we could get to the ship. So that of all the company, not one but myself that was not sick, I keeping myself in the open air, though I was soundly wet for it. This hath not been known 4 days together such weather at this time of year, a great while. Indeed our fleet was thought to be in great danger, but we found all well, and Mr. Thomas Crew came on board. I having spoke a word or two with my Lord, being not very well settled, partly through last night's drinking and want of sleep, I lay down in my gown upon my bed, and slept till the 4 o'clock gun the next morning waked me, which I took for 8 at night, and rising, mistook the sun rising for the sun setting on Sunday night. 21st. So into my naked bed, and slept till 9 o'clock, and then John Goods waked me, and by the Captain's boy brought me 4 barrels of Mallow's oysters, which Captain Tatnall had sent me from Merlis. The weather foul all this day also. After dinner about writing one thing or other all day, and setting my papers in order, having been so long absent. At night Mr. Pierce, purser, the other Pierce and I having not spoken to one another since we fell out about Mr. Edward, and Mr. Cooke sat with me in my cabin and supped with me, and then I went to bed. By letters that came hither in my absence, I understand that the Parliament had ordered all persons to be secured, in order to a trial, that did sit as judges in the late King's death, and all the officers too attending the court, Sir John Lenthall moving in the House that all that had borne arms against the King should be exempted from pardon. He was called to the bar of the House, and after a severe reproof he was degraded his knighthood. At court I find that all things grow high. The old clergy talkers being sure of their lands again, and laugh at the presbytery, and it is believed that the sales of the King's and Bishops' lands will never be confirmed by Parliament, there being nothing now in any man's power to hinder them and the King from doing what they have a mind, but everybody willing to submit to anything. We expect every day to have the King and Duke on board as soon as it is fair. My Lord do nothing now, but offers all things to the pleasure of the Duke as Lord High Admiral, so that I am at a loss what to do. 22nd. Up very early, and now beginning to be settled in my wits again. I went about setting down my last 4 days' observations this morning. After that was trimmed by a barber that has not trimmed me yet, my Spaniard being on shore. News brought that the 2 Dukes are coming on board, which by and by they did. In a Dutch boat, the Duke of York in yellow trimmings, the Duke of Gloucester in grey and red. My Lord went in a boat to meet them, the Captain, myself, and others standing at the entering port. So soon as they were entered we shot the guns off round the fleet. After that they went to view the ship all over, and were most exceedingly pleased with it. They seem to be both very fine gentlemen. After that done, upon the quarter-deck table, under the awning, the Duke of York and my Lord, Mr. Coventry, and I spent an hour at allotting to every ship their service, in their return to England, which having done, they went to dinner, where the table was very full, the two Dukes at the upper end, my Lord Obdam next on one side, and my Lord on the other. 2 guns given to every man, while he was drinking the King's health, and so likewise to the Duke's health. I took down Monsieur Desquier to the great cabin below, and dined with him in state alone, with only 1 or 2 friends of his. All dinner the harper belonging to Captain Sparling played to the Dukes. After dinner the Dukes and my Lord to see the Vice and Rear Admirals, and I in a boat after them. After that done, they made to the shore in the Dutch boat that brought them, and I got into the boat with them. But the shore was so full of people to expect their coming, as that it was as black, which otherwise is white sand, as every one could stand by another. When we came near the shore, my Lord left them, and came into his own boat, and General Pen and I with him, my Lord being very well pleased with this day's work. By the time we came on board again, news is sent us that the King is on shore, so my Lord fired all his guns round twice, and all the fleet after him, which in the end fell into disorder, which seemed very handsome. The gun over against my cabin I fired myself to the King, which was the first time that he had been saluted by his own ships since his change. But holding my head too much over the gun, I had almost spoiled my right eye. Nothing in the world but going of guns almost all this day. In the evening we began to remove cabins. I to the carpenter's cabin, and Dr. Clarke with me, who came on board this afternoon, having been twice ducked in the sea to-day, coming from shore, and Mr. North and John Pickering the like. Many of the King's servants came on board to-night, and so many Dutch of all sorts came to see the ship till it was quite dark, that we could not pass by one another, which was a great trouble to us all. This afternoon Mr. Downing, who was knighted yesterday by the King, was here on board, and had a ship for his passage into England, with his lady and servants. By the same token he called me to him when I was going to write the order, to tell me that I must write him Sir G. Downing. My Lord lay in the round house to-night. This evening I was late writing a French letter myself by my Lord's order to Monsieur Cras, Ambassadeur de Denmark à la Haye, which my Lord signed in bed. After that I to bed, and the doctor, and sleep well. 23rd. The doctor and I waked very merry, only my eye was very red and ill in the morning from yesterday's hurt. In the morning came infinity of people on board from the King to go along with him. My Lord, Mr. Crew, and others go on shore to meet the King as he comes off from shore, where Sir R. Stayner bringing his Majesty into the boat. I hear that his Majesty did with a great deal of affection kiss my Lord upon his first meeting. The King, with the 2 Dukes and Queen of Bohemia, Princess Royal and Prince of Orange, came on board, where I in their coming in kissed the King's, Queen's, and Princess's hands, having done the other before. Infinite shooting off of the guns, and that in a disorder on purpose, which was better than if it had been otherwise. All day nothing but lords and persons of honour on board, that we were exceeding full. Dined in a great deal of state, the royal company by themselves in the coach, which was a blessed sight to see. I dined with Dr. Clarke, Dr. Quarterman, and Mr. Darcy in my cabin. This morning Mr. Lucy came on board, to whom, and his company of the King's Guard in another ship, my Lord did give 3 dozen of bottles of wine. He made friends between Mr. Pierce and me. After dinner the King and Duke altered the name of some of the ships, viz. The Naseby into Charles, the Richard, James, the Speakers, Mary, the Dunbar, which was not in company with us, the Henry, Winsley, Happy Return, Wakefield, Richmond, Lambert, the Henrietta, Cheriton, the Speedwell, Bradford, the Success. That done, the Queen, Princess Royal, and Prince of Orange took leave of the King, and the Duke of York went on board the London, and the Duke of Gloucester the Swiftsure, which done we weighed anchor, and with a fresh gale and most happy weather, we set sail for England. All the afternoon the King walked here and there, up and down, quite contrary to what I thought him to have been, very active and stirring. Upon the quarter-deck he fell into discourse of his escape from Worcester, where it made me ready to weep to hear the stories that he told, of his difficulties that he had passed through, as his travelling 4 days and 3 nights on foot, every step up to his knees in dirt, with nothing but a green coat and a pair of country breeches on, and a pair of country shoes that made him so sore all over his feet that he could scarce stir. Yet he was forced to run away from a miller and other company, that took them for rogues. His sitting at table at one place, where the master of the house, that had not seen him in 8 years, did know him, but kept it private, when at the same table there was one that had been of his own regiment at Worcester, could not know him, but made him drink the King's health, and said that the King was at least 4 fingers higher than he. At another place he was by some servants of the house made to drink, that they might know him not to be a Roundhead, which they swore he was. In another place, at his inn, the master of the house, as the king was standing with his hands upon the back of a chair by the fireside, kneeled down and kissed his hand privately, saying, that he would not ask him who he was, but bid God bless him whither he was going. Then the difficulty of getting a boat to get into France, where he was fain to plot with the master thereof, to keep his design from the 4 men and a boy, which was all his ship's company, and so got to Fécamp in France. At Rouen he looked so poorly, that the people went into the rooms before he went away, to see whether he had not stole something or other. In the evening I went up to my Lord to write letters for England, which we sent away with word of our coming by Mr. Edward Pickering. The King supped alone in the coach. After that I got a dish, and we 4 supped in my cabin, as at noon. About bedtime, my Lord Bartlett, who I had offered my service to before, sent for me to get him a bed, who with much ado I did get to bed to my Lord Middlesex in the great cabin below. But I was cruelly troubled before I could dispose of him, and quit myself of him. So to my cabin again, where the company still was, and were talking more of the King's difficulties. As how he was fain to eat a piece of bread and cheese out of a poor boy's pocket. How at a Catholic house he was fain to lie in the priest's hole a good while in the house for his privacy. After that our company broke up, and the Doctor and I to bed. We have all the Lords Commissioners on board us, and many others. Under sail all night, and most glorious weather. 24th. Up, and made myself as fine as I could, with the tinning stockings on, and wired cannons, that I bought the other day at Hague. Extraordinary press of noble company, and great mirth all the day. There dined with me in my cabin, that is, the carpenters, Dr. Earle, and Mr. Hollis, the King's chaplains, Dr. Scarborough, Dr. Quarterman, and Dr. Clark, physicians, Mr. Darcy and Mr. Fox, both very fine gentlemen, the King's servants, where we had brave discourse. Walking upon the decks were persons of honour all the afternoon, among others Thomas Killigrew, a merry droll, but a gentleman of great esteem with the King, who told us many merry stories, one how he wrote a letter 3 or 4 days ago to the Princess Royal, about a Queen Dowager, of Judea and Palestine, that was at the Hague incognita, that made love to the King, etc., which was Mr. Carey, a courtier's wife, that had been a nun, who are all married to Jesus. At supper, the 3 doctors of physic again at my cabin, where I put Dr. Scarborough in mind of what I heard him say about the use of the eyes, which he owned that children do, in every day's experience, look several ways with both their eyes, till custom teaches them otherwise, and that we do now see but with one eye, our eyes looking in parallel lines. After this discourse I was called to write a pass for my Lord Mandeville to take up horses to London, which I wrote in the King's name, and carried it to him to sign, which was the first and only one that ever he signed in the ship Charles. To bed, coming in sight of land a little before night. 25th. By the morning we were come close to the land, and everybody made ready to get on shore. The King and the 2 Dukes did eat their breakfast before they went, and there being set some ship's diet before them, only to show them the manner of the ship's diet, they eat of nothing else but peas and pork and boiled beef. I had Mr. Darcy in my cabin, and Dr. Clark, who eat with me, told me how the King had given £50 to Mr. Shepley for my Lord's servants, and £500 among the officers and common men of the ship. I spoke with the Duke of York about business, who called me Pepys by name, and upon my desire did promise me his future favour. Great expectation of the King's making some knights, but there was none. About noon, though the brigantine that Beale made was there ready to carry him, yet he would go in my Lord's barge with the 2 Dukes. Our captain steered, and my Lord went along bare with him. I went, and Mr. Mansell, and one of the King's footmen, with a dog that the King loved, which dirted the boat, which made us laugh, and me think that a king and all that belong to him are but just as others are, in a boat by ourselves, and so got on shore when the King did, who was received by General Monk with all imaginable love and respect at his entrance upon the land of Dover. Infinite the crowd of people, and the horsemen, citizens, and noblemen of all sorts. The mayor of the town came and gave him his white staff, the badge of his place, which the King did give him again. The mayor also presented him from the town a very rich Bible, which he took and said it was a thing that he loved above all things in the world. A canopy was provided for him to stand under, which he did, and talked a while with General Monk and others, and so into a stately coach there set for him, and so away through the town towards Canterbury, without making any stay at Dover. The shouting and joy expressed by all is past imagination. Seeing that my Lord did not stir out of his barge, I got into a boat, and so into his barge, whither Mr. John Crew stepped, and spoke a word or two to my Lord, and so returned, we back to the ship, and going did see a man almost drowned that fell out of his boat into the sea, but with much ado was got out. My Lord almost transported with joy that he had done all this without any the least blur or obstruction in the world, that could give an offence to any, and with the great honour he thought it would be to him. Being overtook by the brigantine, my Lord and we went out of our barge into it, and so went on board with Sir W. Batten, and the Vice and Rear Admirals. At night my Lord supped, and Mr. Thomas Crew with Captain Stokes. I supped with the Captain, who told me what the King had given us. My Lord returned late, and at his coming did give me order to cause the mart to be gilded, and a crown and C.R. to be made at the head of the coach table, where the King to-day with his own hand did mark his height, which accordingly I caused the painter to do, and is now done as is to be seen. 26th. Thanks to God I got to bed in my own poor cabin, and slept well till 9 o'clock this morning. Mr. North and Dr. Clarke and all the great company being gone, I found myself very uncouth all this day for want thereof. My Lord dined with the Vice Admiral to-day, who is as officious, poor man, as any spaniel can be, but I believe all to no purpose, for I believe he will not hold his place. So I dined commander at the coach table to-day, and all the officers of the ship with me, and Mr. White of Dover. After a game or two at ninepins, to work all the afternoon, making above 20 orders. In the evening, my Lord having been ashore, the first time that he hath been ashore since he came out of the Hope, having resolved not to go till he had brought his Majesty into England, returned on board with a great deal of pleasure. I supped with the Captain in his cabin with young Captain Cuttance, and afterwards a messenger from the King came with a letter, and to go into France, and by that means we supped again with him at 12 o'clock at night. This night the Captain told me that my Lord had appointed me £30 out of the 1,000 ducats which the King had given to the ship, at which my heart was very much joyed. To bed. 27th, Lord's day. Called up by John Goods to see the Garter and Herald's coat, which lay in the coach brought by Sir Edward Walker, King at Arms, this morning, for my Lord. My Lord hath summoned all the commanders on board him to see the ceremony, which was thus: Sir Edward putting on his coat, and having laid the George and Garter, and the King's letter to my Lord, upon a crimson cushion, in the coach all the commanders standing by, makes 3 congees to him, holding the cushion in his arms. Then laying it down with the things upon it upon a chair, he takes the letter, and delivers it to my Lord, which my Lord breaks open and gives him to read. It was directed to our trusty and well-beloved Sir Edward Montague, Knight, one of our generals at sea, and our companion elect of our noble Order of the Garter. The contents of the letter is to show that the Kings of England have for many years made use of this honour as a special mark of favour to persons of good extraction and virtue, and that many emperors, kings, and princes of other countries have borne this honour, and that whereas my Lord is of a noble family, and hath now done the King such service by sea at this time as he hath done, he do send him this George and Garter to wear as Knight of the Order, with a dispensation for the other ceremonies of the habit of the Order, and other things, till hereafter, when it can be done. So the herald putting the ribbon about his neck, and the Garter about his left leg, he salutes him with joy as Knight of the Garter, and that was all. After that was done, and the Captain and I had breakfasted with Sir Edward, while my Lord was writing of a letter, he took his leave of my Lord, and so to shore again to the King at Canterbury, where he yesterday gave the like honour to General Monk, who are the only two for many years that have had the Garter given them. Before they had other honours of earldom or the like, excepting only the Duke of Buckingham, who was only Sir George Villiers when he was made Knight of the Garter. A while after Mr. Thomas Crew and Mr. J. Pickering, who had stayed long enough to make all the world see him to be a fool, took ship for London. So there now remained no strangers with my Lord but Mr. Hetly, who had been with us the day before the King went from us. My Lord and the ship's company down to sermon. I stayed above to write and look over my new song-book, which came last night to me from London, in lieu of that my Lord had of me. The officers being all on board, there was not room for me at table, so I dined in my cabin, where, among other things, Mr. Drum brought me a lobster and a bottle of oil, instead of a bottle of vinegar, whereby I spoiled my dinner. Many orders in the ordering of ships this afternoon. Late to a sermon, after that up to the Lieutenant's cabin, where Mr. Shepley, I, and the Minister supped, and after that I went down to W. Howe's cabin, and there with a great deal of pleasure, singing till it was late. After that to bed. 28th. Called up at 2 in the morning for letters for my Lord from the Duke of York, but I went to bed again till 5. Trimmed early this morning. This morning the Captain did call over all the men in the ship, not the boys, and give every one of them a ducat of the King's money that he gave the ship, and the officers according to their quality. I received in the Captain's cabin for my share 60 ducats. The rest of the morning busy writing letters. So was my Lord that he would not come to dinner. After dinner to write again in order to sending to London, but my Lord did not finish his, so we did not send to London to-day. A great part of the afternoon at ninepins with my Lord and Mr. Hetly. I lost about 4 shillings. Supped with my Lord, and after that to bed. At night I had a strange dream of myself, which I really did, and having kicked my clothes off, I got cold, and found myself all much wet in the morning, and had a great deal of pain, which made me very melancholy. 29th, the King's birthday. Busy all the morning writing letters to London, among the rest one to Mr. Chetwin, to give me an account of the fees due to the Herald for the Order of the Garter, which my Lord desires to know. After dinner got all ready and sent away Mr. Cooke to London with a letter and token to my wife. After that abroad to shore with my Lord, which he offered me of himself, saying that I had a great deal of work to do this month, which was very true. On shore we took horses, my Lord and Mr. Edward, Mr. Hetly and I, and 3 or 4 servants, and had a great deal of pleasure in riding. Among other things my Lord showed me a house that cost a great deal of money, and is built in so barren and inconvenient a place that my Lord calls it the Fool's House. At last we came upon a very high cliff by the seaside, and rode under it, we having laid great wagers, I and Dr. Matthews, that it was not so high as Paul's, my Lord and Mr. Hetly, that it was. But we riding under it, my Lord made a pretty good measure of it with 2 sticks, and found it to be not above 35 yards high, and Paul's is reckoned to be about 90. From thence toward the barge again, and in our way found the people at Deal going to make a bonfire, for joy of the day, it being the King's birthday, and had some guns, which they did fire at my Lord's coming by, for which I did give 20 shillings among them to drink. While we were on the top of the cliff, we saw and heard our guns in the fleet go off for the same joy, and it being a pretty fair day, we could see above 20 miles into France. Being returned on board, my Lord called for Mr. Shepley's Book of Paul's, by which we were confirmed in our wager. After that to supper, and then to music, and so to bed. The pain that I have got last night by cold is not yet gone, but troubles me at the time of. This day, it is thought, the King do enter the City of London. 30th. About 8 o'clock in the morning the Lieutenant came to me to know whether I would eat a dish of mackerel, newly catched, for my breakfast, which the Captain and we did in the coach. All yesterday and to-day I had a great deal of pain, and in my back, which made me afeard, but it proved nothing but cold, which I took yesterday night. All this morning making up my accounts, in which I counted that I had made myself now worth about £80, at which my heart was glad, and bless God. Many Dover men come and dine with my Lord. My Lord at 9 in the afternoon. In the afternoon Mr. Shepley told me how my Lord had put me down for 70 guilders among the money which was given to my Lord's servants, which my heart did much rejoice at. My Lord supped alone in his chamber. Sir R. Stayner supped with us, and among other things told us how some of his men did grumble that no more of the Duke's money come to their share, and so would not receive any, whereupon he called up those that had taken it, and gives them 3 shares apiece more, which was very good, and made good sport among the seamen. To bed. 31st. This day my Lord took physic, and came not out of his chamber. All the morning making orders. After dinner a great while below in the great cabin, trying with W. Howe some of Mr. Law's songs, particularly that of What is a Kiss, with which we had a great deal of pleasure. After that to making of orders again. Captain Sparling of the Assistants brought me a pair of silk stockings of a light blue, which I was much pleased with. The Captain and I to supper, and after that a most pleasant walk till 2 at night with him upon the deck, it being a fine evening. My pain was gone again that I had yesterday, blessed be God. This day the month ends. I in very good health, and all the world in a merry mood because of the King's coming. This day I began to teach Mr. Edward, who I find to have a very good foundation laid for his Latin by Mr. Fuller. I expect every minute to hear how my poor wife do. I find myself in all these things well as to body and mind, but troubled for the absence of my wife. End of May. June, 1660. June 1st. This morning Mr. Shepley disposed of the money that the Duke of York did give my Lord's servants, 22 ducatoons. 3 came to my share, whereof he told me to give Jasper something because my Lord left him out. I did give Mr. Shepley the fine pair of buckskin gloves that I bought myself about 5 years ago. My Lord took physic to-day, and so come not out all day. The Captain on shore all day. After dinner Captain Jeffreys and W. Howe and the Lieutenant and I to 9, where I lost about 2 shillings, and so fooled away all the afternoon. At night Mr. Cooke comes from London with letters, leaving all things there very gallant and joyful, and brought us word that the Parliament had ordered the 29th of May, the King's birthday, to be for ever kept as a day of thanksgiving for our redemption from tyranny, and the King's return to his government, he entering London that day. My wife was in London when he came thither, and had been there a week with Mr. Bowyer and his wife. My poor wife has not been well a week before, but thanks be to God is well again. She would fain see me and be at her house again, but we must be content. She writes word how the Joyces grow very rich and very proud, but it is no matter, and that there was a talk that I should be knighted by the King, which they, the Joyces, laugh at, but I think myself happier in my wife and estate than they are in theirs. To bed. The Captain come on board when I was going to bed, quite fuddled, and himself the next morning told me so too, that the Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, and he had been drinking all day. 2nd. Being with my Lord in the morning about business in his cabin, I took occasion to give him thanks for his love to me in the share that he had given me of his Majesty's money, and the Duke's. He told me he hoped to do me a more lasting kindness, if all things stand as they are now between him and the King. But, says he, we must have a little patience, and we will rise together. In the meantime I will do you all the good jobs I can. Which was great content for me to hear from my Lord. All the morning with the Captain, computing how much the 30 ships that come with the King from Scheveling their pay comes to for a month, because the King promised to give them all a month's pay, and it comes to £6,538, and the Charles particularly £777. I wish we had the money. All the afternoon with 2 or 3 captains in the Captain's cabin, drinking of white wine and sugar, and eating pickled oysters, where Captain Sparling told us the best story that ever I heard, about a gentleman that persuaded a country fool to let him gut his oysters or else they would stink. At night writing letters to London and Weymouth, for my Lord being now to sit in the House of Peers, he endeavours to get Mr. Edward Montague for Weymouth, and Mr. George for Dover. Mr. Cooke late with me in my cabin while I wrote to my wife, and drank a bottle of wine, and so took leave of me on his journey, and I to bed. 3rd. Waked in the morning by one who, when I asked who it was, he told me one from Bridewell, which proved Captain Holland. I rose presently to him. He is come to get an order for the setting out of his ship, and to renew his commission. He tells me how every man goes to the Lord Mayor to set down their names, as such as do accept of his Majesty's pardon, and showed me a certificate under the Lord Mayor's hand that he had done so. At sermon in the morning. After dinner into my cabin to cast my accounts up, and find myself to be worth near £100, for which I bless Almighty God, it being more than I hoped for so soon, being I believe not clearly worth £25 when I came to sea, besides my house and goods. Then to set my papers in order, they being increased much upon my hands, through want of time to put them in order. The ship's company all this while at sermon. After sermon my Lord did give me instruction to write to London about business, which done, after supper to bed. 4th. Waked in the morning at 4 o'clock to give some money to Mr. Hetley, who was to go to London with the letters that I wrote yesterday night. After he was gone I went and lay down in my gown upon my bed again an hour or 2. At last waked by a messenger come for a post warrant for Mr. Hetley and Mr. Creed, who stood to give so little for their horses that the men would not let them have any without a warrant, which I sent them. All the morning getting Captain Holland's commission done, which I did, and he at noon went away. I took my leave of him upon the quarter deck with a bottle of sack, my Lord being just set down to dinner. Then he being gone, I went to dinner, and after dinner to my cabin to write. This afternoon I showed my Lord my accounts, which he passed, and so I think myself to be worth near £100 now. In the evening I made an order for Captain Sparling of the Assistants, to go to Middleborough, to fetch over some of the King's goods. I took the opportunity to send all my Dutch money, 70 ducatoons and 29 gold ducats to be changed, if he can, for English money, which is the first venture that ever I made, and so I have been since a little afeard of it. After supper some music, and so to bed. This morning the King's proclamation against drinking, swearing, and debauchery was read to our ship's companies in the fleet, and indeed it gives great satisfaction to all. 5th. Abed late. In the morning my Lord went on shore with the Vice Admiral a fishing, and at dinner returned. In the afternoon I played at 9 pins with my Lord, and when he went in again I got him to sign my accounts for £115, and so upon my private balance I find myself confirmed in my estimation that I am worth £100. In the evening in my cabin a great while getting the song without book, Help, help, divinity, etc. After supper my Lord called for the Lieutenant's citern, and with 2 candlesticks with money in them for cymbals, we made barber's music, with which my Lord was well pleased. So to bed. 6th. In the morning I had letters come that told me, among other things, that my Lord's place of Clerk of the Signet was fallen to him, which he did most lovingly tell me that I should execute, in case he could not get a better employment for me at the end of the year, because he thought that the Duke of York would command all, but he hoped that the Duke would not remove me, but to my advantage. I had a great deal of talk about my uncle Robert. and he told me that he could not tell how his mind stood as to his estate, but he would do all that lay in his power for me. After dinner came Mr. Gooke from London, who told me that my wife he left well at Huntsmore, though her health not altogether so constant as it used to be, which my heart is troubled for. Mr. Moore's letters tell me that he thinks my Lord will be suddenly sent for up to London, and so I got myself in readiness to go. My letters tell me that Mr. Calamy had preached before the King in a surplice. This I heard afterwards to be false. That my Lord, General Monk, and 3 more Lords are made Commissioners for the Treasury. That my Lord had some great place conferred on him, and they say Master of the Wardrobe. That the 2 Dukes do haunt the park much, and that they were at a play, Madame Epicene, the other day. That Sir Anthony Cooper, Mr. Hollis, and Mr. Annesley, and late President of the Council of State, are made Privy Councillors to the King. At night very busy, sending Mr. Donne away to London, and wrote to my father for a coat to be made me against I come to London, which I think will not be long. At night Mr. Edward Montague came on board, and stayed long up with my Lord. I to bed, and about 1 in the morning, 7th, W. Howe called me up, to give him a letter to carry to my Lord that came to me to-day, which I did, and so to sleep again. About 3 in the morning, the people began to wash the deck, and the water came pouring into my mouth, which waked me, and I was fain to rise and get on my gown, and sleep leaning on my table. This morning Mr. Montague went away again. After dinner come Mr. John Wright and Mr. Moore, with the sight of whom my heart was very glad. They brought an order for my Lord's coming up to London, which my Lord resolved to do to-morrow. All the afternoon getting my things in order to set forth to-morrow. At night walked up and down with Mr. Moore, who did give me an account of all things at London. Among others, how the Presbyterians would be angry if they durst, but they will not be able to do anything. Most of the commanders on board, and supped with my Lord. Late at night came Mr. Edward Pickering from London, but I could not see him this night. I went with Mr. Moore to the master's cabin, and saw him there in order to go into bed. After that to my own cabin to put things in order, and so to bed. 8th. Out early, took horses at Deal. I troubled much with the King's guitar, and Fairbrother, the rogue that I entrusted with the carrying of it on foot, whom I thought I had lost. Colonel Dixwell's horse taken by a soldier and delivered to my Lord, and by him to me to carry to London. Came to Canterbury, dined there. I saw the minister and the remains of Becket's tomb. To Sittingbourne and Rochester. At Chatham and Rochester the ships and bridge. Mr. Headley's mistake about dinner. Come to Gravesend. A good handsome wench I kissed, the first that I have seen a great while. Supped with my Lord, drank late below with Penrose, the captain. To bed late, having first laid out all my things against to-morrow, to put myself in a walking garb. Weary and hot to bed, to Mr. Moore. 9th. Up betimes, 25s. the reckoning for very bare. Paid the house, and by boats to London, 6 boats. Mr. Moore, W. Howe, and I, and then the child in the room of W. Howe. Landed at the Temple, to Mr. Crews, to my father's, and put myself into a handsome posture to wait upon my Lord. Dined there. To Whitehall with my Lord and Mr. Edward Montague. Found the King in the park. There walked. Gallantly great. 10th, Lord's day. At my father's found my wife, and to walk with her in Lincoln's Inn walks. 11th. Betimes to my Lord. Extremely much people and business. So with him to Whitehall to the Duke. Back with him by coach, and left him in Covent Garden. I back to Will's and the Hall to see my father. Then to the Leg in King Street with Mr. Moore, and sent for L'Impertinent to dinner with me. After that with Mr. Moore about Privy Seal business. To Mr. Watkins, so to Mr. Crews. Then towards my father's met my Lord, and with him to Dorset House to the Chancellor. So to Mr. Crews, and saw my Lord at supper, and then home and went to see Mrs. Turner, and so to bed. 12th. Visited by the 2 Pierces, Mr. Blackburn, Dr. Clark, and Mr. Creed, and did give them a ham of bacon. So to my Lord, and with him to the Duke of Gloucester. The 2 Dukes dined with the Speaker, and I saw there a fine entertainment, and dined with the pages. To Mr. Crews, whither came Mr. Greatorex, and with him to the Fairthorns, and so to the Devil's Tavern. To my Lord's, and stayed till 12 at night about business. So to my father's, my father and mother in bed, who had been with my uncle Fenner, etc., and my wife all day, and expected me. But I found Mr. Cooke there, and so to bed. 13th. To my Lord's, and thence to the Treasurer's of the Navy, with Mr. Creed and Pierce the Purser to Rawlinson's, whither my uncle White came, and I spent 12s. upon them. So to Mr. Crews, where I blotted a new carpet. That was hired, but got it out again with fair water. By water with my Lord in a boat to Westminster, and to the Admiralty, now in a new place. After business done there to the Rhenish wine house with Mr. Blackburn, Creed, and Ribble. So to my Lord's lodging, and to my father's, and to bed. 14th. Up to my Lord, and from him to the Treasurer of the Navy for £500. After that to a tavern with Washington the purser, very gallant, and ate and drank. To Mr. Crews, and laid my money. To my Lady Pickering with the plate that she did give my Lord the other day. Then to Will's, and met William Simons, and Doling, and Llewellyn, and with them to the Bullhead, and then to a new alehouse in Brewer's Yard, where Winter that had the fray with Stokes, and from them to my father's. 15th. All the morning at the Commissioners of the Navy about getting out my bill for £650 for the last quarter, which I got done with a great deal of ease, which is not common. After that with Mr. Turner to the Dolphin, and drunk, and so by water to W. Simons, where D. Scobell with his wife, a pretty and rich woman. Mrs. Simons a very fine woman, very merry after dinner, with marrying of Llewellyn and D. Scobell's kinswoman that was there. Then to my Lord, who told me how the King has given him the place of the great wardrobe. My Lord resolves to have Sarah again. I to my father's, and then to see my uncle and aunt Fenner. So home and to bed. 16th. Rose betimes, and abroad in one shirt, which brought me a great cold and pain. Murford took me to Harvey's by my father's to drink, and told me of a business that I hope to get £5 by. To my Lord, and so to Whitehall with him about the Clerk of the Privy Seal's place, which he is to have. Then to the Admiralty, where I wrote some letters. Here Colonel Thompson told me, as a great secret, that the Naseby was on fire when the King was there, but that is not known, when God knows it is quite false. Got a piece of gold from Major Holmes for the horse of Dixwell's I brought to town. Dined at Mr. Crews, and after dinner with my Lord to Whitehall. Court attendance infinite tedious. Back with my Lord to my Lady Wright's, and stayed till it had done raining, which it had not done a great while. After that at night home to my father's, and to bed. 17th. Lord's day. Lay long abed. To Mr. Mossum's, a good sermon. This day the organs did begin to play at Whitehall before the King. Dined at my father's. After dinner to Mr. Mossum's again, and so in the garden, and heard Chipple's father preach, that was page to the Protector, and just by the window that I stood at sat Mrs. Butler, the great beauty. After sermon to my Lord. Mr. Edward and I into Gray's Inn walks, and saw many beauties. So to my father's, where Mr. Cook, W. Bowyer, and my coz, Roger Wharton, supped, and to bed. 18th. To my Lord's, where much business, and some hopes of getting some money thereby. With him to the Parliament House, where he did intend to have gone, to have made his appearance to-day, but he met Mr. Crew upon the stairs, and would not go in. He went to Mrs. Brown's, and stayed till word was brought him what was done in the house. This day they made an end of the 20 men to be accepted from pardon to their estates. By barge to Stepney with my Lord, where at Trinity House we had great entertainment. With my Lord there went Sir W. Penn, Sir H. Wright, Hetley, Pierce, Creed, Hill, I, and other servants. Back again to the Admiralty, and so to my Lord's lodgings, where he told me that he did look after the place of the Clerk of the Acts for me. So to Mr. Crews and my father's, and to bed. My wife went this day to Huntsmore for her things, and I was very lonely all night. This evening my wife's brother, Balty, came to me to let me know his bad condition, and to get a place for him. But I perceive he stands upon a place for a gentleman, that may not stain his family when, God help him, he wants bread. 19th. Called on betimes by Murford, who showed me 5 pieces to get a business done for him, and I am resolved to do it. Much business at my Lord's. This morning my Lord went into the House of Commons, and there had the thanks of the House, in the name of the Parliament and Commons of England, for his late service to his King and country. A motion was made for a reward for him, but it was quashed by Mr. Annesley, who, above most men, is engaged to my Lord's and Mr. Crew's families. Meeting with Captain Stokes at Whitehall, I dined with him and Mr. Gullop, the parson, with whom afterwards I was much offended at his importunity and impertinence, such another as Elborough, and Mr. Butler, who complimented much after the same manner as the parson did. After that towards my Lord's at Mr. Crew's, but was met with by a servant of my Lady Pickering, who took me to her, and she told me the story of her husband's case, and desired my assistance with my Lord, and did give me, wrapped up in paper, £5 in silver. After that to my Lord's, and with him to Whitehall and my Lady Pickering. My Lord went at night with the King to Baynard's Castle to supper, and I home to my father's to bed. My wife and the girl and dog came home to-day. When I came home I found a quantity of chocolate left for me, I know not from whom. We hear of W. Howe being sick to-day, but he was well at night. 20th. Up by 4 in the morning to write letters to sea, and a commission for him that Murford solicited for. Called on by Captain Sparling, who did give me my Dutch money again, and so much as he had changed into English money, by which my mind was eased of a great deal of trouble. Some other sea captains, I did give them a good morning draught, and so to my Lord, who lay long in bed this day, because he came home late from supper with the King. With my Lord to the Parliament House, and after that with him to General Monk's, where he dined at the Cockpit. I home and dined with my wife, now making all things ready there again. Thence to my Lady Pickering, who did give me the best intelligence about the wardrobe. Afterwards to the Cockpit to my Lord with Mr. Townsend, one formerly and now again to be employed as Deputy of the Wardrobe. Thence to the Admiralty, and dispatched away Mr. Cooke to sea, whose business was a letter from my Lord about Mr. G. Montague, to be chosen as a Parliament man in my Lord's room at Dover, and another to the Vice Admiral, to give my Lord a constant account of all things in the fleet, merely that he may thereby keep up his power there. Another letter to Captain Cuttance, to send the barge that brought the King on shore to Hinchingbroke by Lynn. To my own house, meeting G. Vines, and drank with him at Charing Cross, now the King's Head Tavern. With my wife to my father's, where met with Swan, an old hypocrite, and with him, his friend, and my father, and my cousin Scott, to the Bear Tavern. To my father's, and to bed. 21st. To my Lord, much business. With him to the Council Chamber, where he was sworn, and the charge of his being admitted Privy Councillor is £26. To the Dog Tavern at Westminster, where Murford, with Captain Curle and 2 friends of theirs, went to drink. Captain Curle, late of the Maria, gave me 5 pieces in gold, and a silver can for my wife, for the commission I did give him this day for his ship, dated April 20th, 1660 last. Thence to the Parliament door, and came to Mr. Crewe's to dinner with my Lord, and with my Lord to see the great wardrobe, where Mr. Townsend brought us to the governor of some poor children in tawny clothes, who had been maintained there these 11 years, which put my Lord to a stand how to dispose of them, that he may have the house for his use. The children did sing finely, and my Lord did bid me give them 5 pieces in gold at his going away. Thence back to Whitehall, where the King being gone abroad, my Lord and I walked a great while, discoursing of the simplicity of the Protector, in his losing all that his father had left him. My Lord told me, that the last words that he parted with the Protector with, when he went to the Sound, were, that he should rejoice more to see him in his grave at his return home, than that he should give way to such things as were then in hatching, and afterwards did ruin him. And the Protector said, that whatever G. Montague, my Lord Broghill, Jones, and the Secretary would have him to do, he would do it, be it what it would. Thence to my wife, meeting Mr. Blagrave, who went home with me, and did give me a lesson upon the flageolet, and handselled my silver can with my wife and me. To my father's, where Sir Thomas Honeywood and his family were come of a sudden, and so we forced to lie all together in a little chamber 3 stories high. 22nd. To my Lord, where much business. With him to Whitehall, where the Duke of York not being up, we walked a good while in the Shield Gallery. Mr. Hill, who for these 2 or 3 days hath constantly attended my Lord, told me of an offer of £500 for a baronet's dignity, which I told my Lord of in the balcon in this gallery, and he said he would think of it. I to my Lord's, and gave order for horses to be got to draw my Lord's great coach to Mr. Crewe's. Mr. Morris and the upholsterer came himself to-day to take notice what furniture we lack for our lodgings at Whitehall. My dear friend Mr. Fuller of Twickenham and I dined alone at the Sun Tavern, where he told me how he had the grant of being Dean of St. Patrick's in Ireland, and I told him my condition, and both rejoiced one for another. Thence to my Lord's, and had the great coach to Brigham's, who went with me to the Half Moon, and gave me a can of good julep, and told me how my Lady Monk deals with him and others for their places, asking him £500, though he was formerly the King's coachmaker, and sworn to it. My Lord abroad, and I to my house, and set things in a little order there. So with Mr. Moore to my father's, I staying with Mrs. Turner, who stood at her door as I passed. Among other things, she told me for certain how my old Lady Middlesex, herself the other day in the presence of the King, and people took notice of it. Thence called at my father's, and so to Mr. Crewe's, where Mr. Hettley had sent a letter for me, and 2 pair of silk stockings, one for W. Howe and the other for me. To Sir H. Wright's to my Lord, where he was, and took direction about business, and so by link home about 11 o'clock. To bed, the first time since my coming from sea, in my own house, for which God be praised. 23rd. By water with Mr. Hill towards my Lord's lodging, and so to my Lord. With him to Whitehall, where I left him, and went to Mr. Holmes, to deliver him the horse of Dixwell's that had stayed there 14 days at the Bell. So to my Lord's lodgings, where Tom Guy came to me, and there stayed to see the King touch people for the King's evil. But he did not come at all, it rained so, and the poor people were forced to stand all the morning in the rain in the garden. Afterward he touched them in the banqueting house. With my Lord to my Lord Friesendorf's, where he dined to-day, where he told me that he had obtained a promise of the Clerk of the Acts place for me, at which I was glad. Met with Mr. Chetwin, and dined with him at Hargrave's, the corn chandler in St. Martin's Lane, where a good dinner, where he showed me some good pictures, and an instrument he called an Angelique. With him to London, changing all my Dutch money at Backwell's for English, and then to Cardinal's Cap, where he and the City Remembrancer, who paid for all. Back to Westminster, where my Lord was, and discoursed with him a while about his family affairs. So he went away, I home, and wrote letters into the country, and to bed. 24th, Sunday. Drank my morning draught at Harper's, and bought a pair of gloves there. So to Mr. G. Montague, and told him what I had received from Dover about his business likely to be chosen there. So home, and thence with my wife towards my father's. She went thither, I to Mr. Crew's, where I dined, and my Lord, at my Lord Montague of Boughton, in Little Queen Street. In the afternoon to Mr. Mossum's with Mr. Moore, and we sat in Mr. Butler's pew. Then to Whitehall, looking for my Lord, but in vain, and back again to Mr. Crew's, where I found him, and did give him letters. Among others, some simple ones from our Lieutenant Lambert, to him and myself, which made Mr. Crew and us all laugh. I went to my father's to tell him that I would not come to supper, and so after my business done at Mr. Crew's I went home, and my wife within a little while after me, my mind all this while full of thoughts for my place of Clerk of the Acts. 25th. With my Lord at Whitehall all the morning. I spoke with Mr. Coventry about my business, who promised me all the assistance I could expect. Dined with young Mr. Pole, lately come from the Sound, being amused at our great changes here, and Mr. Southern, now clerk to Mr. Coventry, at the Leg in King Street. Thence to the Admiralty, where I met with Mr. Turner, of the Navy Office, who did look after the place of Clerk of the Acts. He was very civil to me, and I to him, and shall be so. There came a letter from my Lady Monk to my Lord about it this evening, but he refused to come to her, but meeting in Whitehall with Sir Thomas Clarges, her brother, my Lord returned answer that he could not desist in my business, and that he believed that General Monk would take it ill if my Lord should name the officers in his army, and therefore he desired to have the naming of one officer in the fleet. With my Lord by coach to Mr. Crew's, and very merry by the way, discoursing of the late changes and his good fortune. Thence home, and then with my wife to Dorset House, to deliver a list of the names of the Justices of the Peace for Huntingdonshire. By coach, taking Mr. Fox part of the way with me, that was with us with the King on board the Naseby, who I found to have married Mrs. Whittle, that lived at Mr. Gear's so long, a very civil gentleman. At Dorset House I met with Mr. Kipps, my old friend, with whom the world is well changed, he being now seal-bearer to the Lord Chancellor, at which my wife and I are well pleased, he being a very good-natured man. Home, and late, writing letters. Then to my Lord's lodging, this being the first night of his coming to Whitehall to lie since his coming from sea. 26th. My Lord dined at his lodgings, all alone to-day. I went to Secretary Nicholas, to carry him my Lord's resolutions about his title, which he had chosen, and that is Portsmouth. I met with Mr. Throgmorton, a merchant, who went with me to the old 3 Tuns at Charing Cross, who did give me 5 pieces of gold for to do him a small piece of service about a convoy to Bilbao, which I did. In the afternoon, one Mr. Watts came to me, a merchant, to offer me £500 if I would desist from the Clerk of the Acts place. I pray God direct me in what I do herein. Went to my house, where I found my father, and carried him and my wife to Whitefriars, and myself to Puddle Wharf, to the Wardrobe, to Mr. Townsend, who went with me to Backwell the goldsmith's, and there we chose £100 worth of plate for my Lord to give Secretary Nicholas. Back and stayed at my father's, and so home to bed. 27th. With my Lord to the Duke, where he spoke to Mr. Coventry, to dispatch my business of the Acts, in which place everybody gives me joy, as if I were in it, which God sent. Dined with my Lord and all the officers of his regiment, who invited my Lord and his friends, as many as he would bring, to dinner at the Swan at Dowgate, a poor house and ill-dressed, but very good fish and plenty. Here Mr. Simons, the surgeon, told me how he was likely to lose his estate that he had bought, at which I was not a little pleased. To Westminster, and with Mr. Howe by coach to the Speaker's, where my Lord supped with the King, but I could not get in. So back again, and after a song or two in my chamber in the dark, which do, now that the bed is out, sound very well, I went home and to bed. 28th. My brother Tom came to me with patterns to choose for a suit. I paid him all to this day, and did give him £10 upon account. To Mr. Coventry, who told me that he would do me all right in my business. To Sir G. Downing, the first visit I have made him since he came. He is so stingy a fellow, I care not to see him. I quite cleared myself of his office, and did give him liberty to take anybody in. Hawley and he are parted too. He is going to serve Sir Thomas Ingram. I went also this morning to see Mrs. Pierce, the surgeon's wife. I found her in bed in her house in Margaret Churchyard. Her husband returned to sea. I did invite her to go to dinner with me and my wife to-day. After all this to my Lord, who lay abed till 11 o'clock, it being almost 5 before he went to bed, they supped so late last night with the King. This morning I saw poor Bishop Wren going to chapel, it being a Thanksgiving Day, for the King's return. After my Lord was awake, I went up to him to the nursery, where he do lie, and having talked with him a little, I took leave and carried my wife and Mrs. Pearce to Clothworkers' Hall, to dinner, where Mr. Pearce, the purser, met us. We were invited by Mr. Chaplin, the victualler, where Nick Osborne was. Our entertainment very good, a brave hall, good company, and very good music. Where, among other things, I was pleased that I could find out a man by his voice, whom I had never seen before, to be one that sang behind the curtain formerly at Sir W. Davenant's opera. Here Dr. Gordon and Mr. Gordon, the victualler, dined with us. After dinner to Mr. Rawlinson's, to see him and his wife, and would have gone to my Aunt White, but that her only child, a daughter, died last night. Home and to my Lord, who supped within, and Mr. E. Montague, Mr. Thomas Crew, and others with him sat up late. I home and to bed. 29th. This day or two my maid Jane has been lame, that we cannot tell what to do for want of her. Up into Whitehall, where I got my warrant from the Duke to be Clerk of the Acts. Also I got my Lord's warrant from the Secretary for his honour of Earl of Portsmouth and Viscount Montague of Hinchingbroke. So to my Lord to give him an account of what I had done. Then to Sir Geoffrey Palmer, to give them to him to have bills drawn upon them, who told me that my Lord must have some good Latinist to make the preamble to his patent, which must express his late service in the best terms that he can, and he told me in what high flaunting terms Sir J. Greenville had caused his to be done, which he do not like, but that Sir Richard Fanshawe had done General Monk's very well. Back to Westminster, and meeting Mr. Townsend in the Palace, he and I and another or two went and dined at the Leg there. Then to Whitehall, where I was told by Mr. Hutchinson at the Admiralty that Mr. Barlow, my predecessor, Clerk of the Acts, is yet alive, and coming up to town to look after his place, which made my heart sad a little. At night told my Lord thereof, and he bade me get possession of my patent, and he would do all that could be done to keep him out. This night my Lord and I looked over the list of the captains, and marked some that my Lord had a mind to have put out. Home and to bed. Our wench very lame, abed these 2 days. 30th. By times to Sir R. Fanshawe to draw up the preamble to my Lord's patent. So to my Lord, and with him to Whitehall, where I saw a great many fine antique heads of marble, that my Lord Northumberland had given the King. Here meeting with Mr. de Cretz, he looked over many of the pieces in the gallery with me, and told me by whose hands they were, with great pleasure. Dined at home, and Mr. Hawley with me upon 6 of my pigeons, which my wife has resolved to kill here. This day came Will, my boy, to me, the wench continuing lame, so that my wife could not be longer without somebody to help her. In the afternoon with Sir Edward Walker at his lodgings by St. Giles Church for my Lord's pedigree, and carried it to Sir R. Fanshawe. To Mr. Crew's, and there took money, and paid Mrs. Ann, Mrs. Jemima's maid, off quite, and so she went away, and another came to her. To Whitehall with Mr. Moore, where I met with a letter from Mr. Turner, offering me £150 to be joined with me in my patent, and to advise me how to improve the advantage of my place, and to keep off Barlow. To my Lord's till late at night, and so home. End of June.